Chapter 3956. There's not a single word coming out of your mouth. Fire Dance also looked at Madman helplessly. It's the truth. Anyway, I have an intuition. If Old Chin wants to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, he will have to experience a catastrophe that ordinary people can't bear. Madman said with a gloating smile. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. He was really unlucky to have such a brother. Fire Dance said, "Why don't you ignore the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death and comprehend the other ultimate meanings first? Little girl, you don't understand. If I didn't fuse with the source of all evil, he would have already begun to comprehend the other ultimate meanings. Because I didn't fuse with the source of all evil, our strength is about the same. But now I can crush the ultimate meaning with one punch. Seeing how powerful I am, although he didn't say it out loud, he must be secretly competing with me in his heart. So, he doesn't have the mood to comprehend the other ultimate meanings at all." Madman laughed proudly. "You know the most?" Qin Feiyong's face was dark. "You dare say that you don't think so?" Madman laughed loudly. Qin Feiyong coughed dryly and lowered his head to drink tea to hide the embarrassment on his face. "You two, those who don't know would think that you two are destined enemies." Fire Dance shook her head, her face full of helplessness. She couldn't figure it out. They were all on the same side. What was there to compete with? But that was the truth. Whether it was Qin Feiyong, Madman, or White-Eyed Wolf, they could lose to others, but they absolutely couldn't lose to each other. It was precisely because of this that their strength had never been left behind. But now, Madman's strength suddenly soared after fusing with the source of all evil. Whether it was Qin Feiyong or White-Eyed Wolf, they were a little anxious in the face of this sudden change. So Qin Feiyong was so eager to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death. On the one hand, it was to compete with the lunatic. On the other hand, it was also because of the situation back then. Only by comprehending the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death could he truly have the ability to contend against the divine kingdom. It was because of his impatience that Qin Feiyong was unable to calm down. "No." Qin Feiyong shook his head. He looked at Feng Zi and the other two and said, "I've been a bit impatient recently. I need to go out for a walk." On the path of cultivation, the most important thing was the state of mind. It would be fine for a short period of time, but as time went on, his mental state would definitely be affected. At that time, he might fall into a dead end. "Do you need us to accompany you?" Madman smirked. "You're not a beauty." Qin Feiyong glared at him and coldly snorted, "Don't be complacent. My law of life and death's ultimate profundity might be even stronger than the root of all evil. You'd better work hard and comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of death." "You don't say." This time I've also gained a lot from imparting the Tao. Especially when the blood ancestor was explaining the ultimate profundity of the law of death. After listening carefully, I actually managed to comprehend a bit. Madman chuckled. "Alright, let's see if you comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of death first, or if I comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death first. There's more. Don't forget one important thing. As long as I comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death, it's equivalent to grasping the ultimate profundity of the law of death and the law of life at the same time." Qin Feiyong laughed and got up to leave the Black Tortoise realm alone. Madman was stunned and his expression became somewhat unsightly. In his moment of complacency, he had neglected this matter. That's right. Once Qin Feiyong comprehended the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death, the law of death and the law of life would also become ultimate profundities. This way, with the addition of the karma and light profundities, Qin Feiyong would have grasped 5 ultimate profundities, surpassing him. "No. This old man has to go into seclusion." Madman drank the remaining wine in the jar in one go, and said to Li Feng and Fire Dance. Then, he turned around and entered the castle without looking back. What kind of joke was this? He could lose to anyone but Qin Feiyong and the White-Eyed Wolf. "I really can't do anything to them." Fire Dance shook her head and smiled. "Actually, this is also good because they can maintain their fighting spirit at any time. However, we have to work hard. Otherwise, we will be their hindrance sooner or later. To be honest, I really miss the time in the Skybell Divine Treasury." Li Feng sighed. If they could stay in the Skybell Divine Treasury and devour the souls of the dead, they would not need to comprehend the ultimate profundity. The corner of Fire Dance's mouth twitched and she said speechlessly, "You are just like Brother Wolf, thinking of reaping without sowing." "Ha! Sister-in-law, don't joke." Li Feng laughed dryly. Outside, land of buried gods, Qin Feiyong walked on foot. He had no destination and could not find it. In any case, he just walked wherever he went. After a period of time, he walked out of the land of buried gods and changed his appearance. He concealed his identity and entered the northern continent like a mortal. After the teachings of Madman and the others, the entire Sky Cloud realm set off a frenzy of cultivation. Because anyone who had the slightest ambition would not miss such a good opportunity. So now, the number of pedestrians on the streets of the various cities had decreased by more than half. After spending several years, he traveled to every corner of the northern continent, saw all kinds of things in the world, and tasted the impermanence of human affairs. His heart finally settled down. Next, he entered the southern continent, eastern continent, and western continent. At this moment he was like a passerby in the Sky Cloud realm. Sometimes he would stop to watch the battles and disputes of the mortal world, and sometimes he would stop to meditate in a certain place. Apart from the footprints he left behind, he did not leave anything behind. In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed in a hurry. 10 years. Because in these 10 years, the people of the Divine Kingdom did not appear again, and the Sky Cloud realm was completely peaceful. Everyone seemed to have almost forgotten the existence of the Divine Kingdom. 10 years passed. The strength of the various forces had also greatly increased. For example, places like the Demon Palace not only had rich resources, but also had a time array that lasted for 1,000 years. In addition to the teachings of Madman and the others, their strength naturally increased by leaps and bounds. The simplest comparison. Once, profound meanings were very rare in the 4 continents. But now, for example, there were already thousands of disciples in the Demon Palace who had comprehended a profound meaning. For example, Elder Hua, the Demon Palace Palace Master, Chu Yun, the Alliance Master, and He Zhongqian, these people who had opened the door to potential, each of them had already grasped 5 or 6 profound meanings. 5 or 6 profound meanings were already on the same level as the patriarchs of the 3 major races. So, compared to before, the overall strength of the 4 continents had increased by a lot. Of course, the 3 major races were also growing, and the speed of their growth was even more shocking than the 4 continents. After all, the foundations of the 3 major races were stronger than the 4 continents. Some of the elders had comprehended a profound meaning, but they were all ordinary laws. No one had succeeded in comprehending the profound meaning of the strongest laws. The profound meaning of the ordinary laws and the heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't compare to the strongest laws. And now, because it was a special time, when comprehending a profound meaning and needing to pass the tribulation, the various forces would help each other. After all, this was the new fighting force of the Sky Cloud realm. Every time there was someone who grasped a profound meaning, the foundation of the Sky Cloud realm would be more stable. On this day, another piece of news that shocked the Sky Cloud realm and all the major races spread. After 10 years, the Feather Emperor and the 4 divine beasts had finally finished creating the Divine Treasury. The Divine Treasury stood on the Sky Cloud Island. It was a huge stone pagoda that was 999 feet tall. It had a total of 10 floors and each floor was a spatial divine item. Not only was the space inside extremely large, but there were also large amounts of treasures. This ancient pagoda was named the Sky Cloud Divine Treasury by the Feather Emperor, the Blood Ancestor, and the Little Rabbit. It meant that this was a divine treasury that belonged to the Sky Cloud realm. The news that shocked the Sky Cloud realm was that the divine treasury would open in 3 days, and all the major races could participate. As for the divine items inside the divine treasury, naturally, it was the law inheritance and law miniature that received the most attention. When the Feng people heard the news, the white-haired old woman and the white-haired old man immediately went to the Sky Cloud Island to discuss with the Feather Emperor and the other 2. Although the Feng people were in dire straits, their foundation was not inferior to the dragons and the Qilin clan. After some discussion, the Feng people also agreed to contribute a portion of the law inheritance, divine weapons, and divine arts to the divine treasury. They did this to ease the relationship between the Feng people and the Feather Emperor and the others and to exchange for a spot to enter the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasury. After all, everyone wanted the law miniature. 3 days later, All the major races poured into the sky cloud ocean. There was no lack of secluded old antiques among them. They wanted the law miniature even more. However, no one dared to act recklessly in the sky cloud ocean. Even the ferocious beasts were extremely well behaved. Sky Cloud Island. In the pavilion, the Feather Emperor, the Little Rabbit, the Blood Ancestor, and the 4 divine beasts sat around a table. In the void in front of them there were images floating. It showed the people of various races pouring into the sky cloud ocean. The heavenly cloud divine treasury stood in the mountains below, like a giant peak, exuding a magnificent aura. This stone pagoda was jointly refined by the Feather Emperor, the Blood Ancestor, and the Little Rabbit. Except for the ultimate profound meaning and the sovereign divine weapon, no one can damage it. Have you contacted Qin Feiyang and the others? Azure Dragon suddenly retracted his gaze and asked. Yes, but none of them replied. They should be in seclusion. The Blood Ancestor nodded. Then don't disturb them. Azure Dragon waved his hand and smiled. Looking at the heavenly cloud divine treasury, he was full of pride. Swish. This time, Qi Xiaoyun and Long Chan appeared. They had also received a message and came to take a look. Looking at the heavenly cloud divine treasury sitting below, there was a trace of a smile on their faces. Senior Azure Dragon, how many law miniature did you put in this time? Qi Xiaoyun was curious. 50 ultimate laws of nature. 200 ordinary laws of nature. After Azure Dragon finished speaking, he took out a black token and handed it to Qi Xiaoyun. So generous? Didn't Qin Feiyang say that he would only put in 3 to 5 miniature? Qi Xiaoyun and Long Chan looked at each other with astonishment. This is the first time the heavenly cloud divine treasury is open, so I put in more. Azure Dragon smiled. I see. Qi Xiaoyun smiled in realization. This was just like doing business. As long as everyone tasted the benefits, they would continue to come again. Chapter 3957. What's this then? Long Chan looked at the black medallion. The medallion was the size of a baby's palm, and had the words, Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, engraved on it. This is the Heaven Cloud medallion. It's also everyone's life-saving talisman. Every living being that enters the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasure will be given one. When they enter the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasure and encounter danger, they only need to crush the Heaven Cloud token, and they will be sent out of the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasure. But once you crush the medallion, it's the same as giving up on the treasure hunt. Azure Dragon explained with a smile. You're really thoughtful. Long Chen chuckled. This way they would be able to prevent innocent deaths. After all, once they entered the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, fighting and killing would be unavoidable. Wait. Suddenly, Qi Xiaoyun looked at the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury and frowned. There are strong and weak beings coming to the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury. There are even many reclusive old antiques, such as my Qilin clan. Before coming here, I heard from my father that a few reclusive old antiques are also coming to the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury. If they also enter the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, will the weaker beings have a chance? The 4 guardian beasts looked at each other and smiled. Black Tortoise smiled and said with a hoarse voice, We've already thought of this. It's also because of this that we set the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury to have 10 floors. Qi Xiaoyun was stunned. It means that beings of different cultivation levels will have to enter different spaces. For example, only those in the 9 heavens realm and below can enter the first floor. Only those in the imperishable realm can enter the second floor. As for the reclusive old antiques, they can only enter the 10th floor. They won't be allowed to enter the other 9 floors. Of course, because of the difference in cultivation level, the treasures in each floor and the number of treasures are different. For example, on the first floor, most of the treasures are divine weapons and divine techniques. Their grades are not high, and there are only 2 law inheritances and no law miniatures. After all, those below the 9 heavens realm haven't even comprehended the laws. It's useless to have law miniatures. On the 10th floor, basically only law miniatures are law miniatures. After all, only law miniatures are useful to reclusive old antiques. The Black Tortoise explained. Qi Xiaoyun and Long Chan exchanged glances. Both of them admired the 4 divine beasts from the bottom of their hearts. The scope of his consideration was really comprehensive. Handing the Heaven Cloud divine treasure over to the 4 guardian beasts was indeed a wise choice. There was no need for them to worry about it at all. Thank you for your hard work, seniors. Qi Xiaoyun returned the token to Azure Dragon. It is our honor to be able to do something for the Sky Cloud realm in our spare time. Azure Dragon chuckled. Qi Xiaoyun sighed inwardly. If everyone could wholeheartedly contribute to the Sky Cloud realm like the 4 guardian beasts, it would be difficult for the Sky Cloud realm not to become powerful. Why don't I see Qin Feiyang and the others? Longchen looked around. Maybe they are all in seclusion. Azure Dragon smiled. He was the one who suggested the creation of the divine treasure. Aren't you going to take a look with your own eyes? Longchen was speechless. How can they be as free as us? All right. Thank you for your hard work, seniors. Qi Xiaoyun bowed to the 4 guardian beasts before turning around and preparing to leave. Buzz. But right at this moment, the voice of a divine sound transmission stone rang out. Qi Xiaoyun was startled. He took out the divine sound transmission stone and a phantom appeared. He was a middle-aged man with long fiery red hair. Clearly, he was from the Qilin clan. Young patriarch. Something bad has happened. A large number of people from the Divine Kingdom have arrived at the land of buried gods. The middle-aged man exclaimed. A large number? Qi Xiaoyun was startled. He asked how many are there? Long Chan, the Feather Emperor, and the 4 guardian beasts immediately looked at the middle-aged man. I estimate that there are at least tens of thousands of them. The middle-aged man said solemnly. So many? Qi Xiaoyun turned pale with fright. The pupils of Long Chan, the Feather Emperor, and the others shrunk. Tens of thousands of people, that was not an ordinary number. Moreover, it just so happened that the Heaven Cloud divine treasure was opening. Did you see Ryuko and the others? Long Chen asked. Yes. Apart from Ryuko, there's also the God Clan woman who was defeated by the Goldwing Wolf King. As for the other geniuses, I haven't seen them yet. The middle-aged man shook his head. Fine. Don't act rashly. You can't afford to offend these people. Long Chun reminded. Understood. The middle-aged man nodded, and the phantom quickly disappeared. Qi Xiaoyun also put away the divine sound transmission stone. He smiled bitterly and said, This Ryuko really doesn't mind the trouble. I can see him every time. I'm afraid things won't be so simple this time. This Ryuko was tortured by Qin Feiyang back then. Given his status in the Divine Kingdom, he won't let such humiliation go so easily. Moreover, that God Clan woman had her cultivation level stripped by the Goldwing Wolf King. She's definitely here for revenge. No. Let whoever did this deal with it. Hurry up and call the Goldwing Wolf King and Qin Feiyang out. Long Chun rubbed his forehead. He didn't want to get involved in this mess. Qi Xiaoyun looked at the Feather Emperor trio and the 4 divine beasts. Don't look at us. We already agreed that this is a stage for you youngsters. We old guys are only in charge of eating, drinking, and playing. The little rabbit waved its paws. Qi Xiaoyun's mouth twitched. They were really asking him to do all the work. Even if he didn't do anything, he could at least give him some advice. Qi Xiaoyun said helplessly, I didn't ask you to do anything. I only asked you to contact Qin Feiyang and the others. That's fine. The little rabbit nodded and looked at the blood ancestor. The blood ancestor took out the divine sound transmission stone and sent a message to Qin Feiyang. However, there was no reply even after a long time. That bastard is definitely hiding on purpose. Long Chen's face darkened. Then I'll send a message to the little lunatic. The blood ancestor chuckled. Back in the Black Tortoise world, he had already established a contract bridge with Qin Feiyang and the others. However, the lunatic didn't reply. As you can see, I'm not helping you. They're ignoring me. The blood ancestor put away the divine sound transmission stone and looked at Qi Xiaoyun helplessly. Celestial sword. Hurry up and contact the castle. You want to hide and relax? How can there be such a good thing? Long Chun snorted coldly. But after a while, the celestial sword's helpless voice sounded. The castle doesn't care about me. This is too much. Long Chen's veins bulged as he looked at the 4 guardian beasts and said, Seniors, please be the judge. How can there be such a person? Cough cough. The four guardian beasts coughed dryly to hide the smile on their faces. This group of youngsters was really interesting. That, Brother Long, you know my strength. Even if I make a move, I won't be of much help. I'll return to the Qilan sacred land first and look forward to your good news. Qi Xiaoyun rolled his eyes and immediately activated a space-time teleportation divine artifact. Before Long Chan could react, he had already entered. Long Chan looked at this scene in a daze, and a row of black lines appeared on his forehead. How could he run faster than a rabbit? This Qi Xiaoyun is really a little fox. Until now, he hasn't fought with the people of the divine kingdom. The blood ancestor shook his head. This person was much stronger than the Qilan lord. Isn't his purpose obvious? He doesn't want the divine kingdom to target the Qilan clan. In fact, I feel that his strength is not simple. Long Chan rubbed his eyebrows. If he knew this, he wouldn't have come to Sky Cloud Island. Black Tortoise frowned and said, as far as we know, he seems to have obtained an ultimate inheritance of the law of destruction in the Skybell divine treasure. That seems to be the case on the surface, but what about in reality? Do you still remember the situation at the Skybell divine treasure's exit? At that time he wasn't far from the exit, but in the end, he arrived later than Qin Feiyang. At that time he arrived with serious injuries. You all should know that he possessed 9 sovereign divine armaments back then. Furthermore, he had also fused with the ultimate profundity of the law of destruction. With such strength, apart from the primal chaos divine king and the various demon kings, who could have hurt him? So there is definitely something strange about this. Long Chun analyzed. Now that I think about it, it is indeed strange. The blood ancestor nodded. Most importantly, the last time we met here, we were all able to sense a dangerous aura from him. But this time he didn't. Clearly, he is deliberately hiding it. Looks like there will be another person in this world that I can't see through. Long Chun shook his head and sighed. Cough cough. We'll talk about this later. Brother Long Chun. The heavenly cloud divine treasure is about to open. At this time we can't let the people of the divine kingdom come and join in the fun. So you have to go and delay them. Azure Dragon smiled slightly. Do I have a choice? Long Chun smiled bitterly. You've worked hard. Vermilion Bird laughed. Okay, I'll go and take a look. Long Chun sighed helplessly, opened a space-time passage and turned to leave. Vermilion Bird looked at Long Chen's back and smiled. Fortunately, we have this little guy in the heavenly cloud realm. Yes. Although he is the child of Ice Dragon, I really can't hate him. The blood ancestor nodded. Back in the ancient realm, Ice Dragon had almost killed him. Long Tianyu's mother had also died because of the dragons. So he had always hated Ice Dragon and the dragons of the ancient realm. However, when he looked at Long Chun, he really couldn't hate him. On the contrary, it was full of praise. Feather Emperor turned to look at Blood Ancestor and frowned. Speaking of which, old devil, haven't you thought about it? When are you going to confess to your son? This Blood Ancestor hesitated. Boom! But suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted from the mountain below. This was the aura of a fierce beast, as if the ruler of all beasts was born, shocking all directions. This is the aura of the white-eyed wolf. Quick! The little rabbit spirit was lifted. She directly threw away the divine wine in her hand and rushed down the mountain below like lightning. Feather Emperor and Blood Ancestor looked at each other, gave the 4 guardian beasts a few words, and immediately chased down. Chapter 3958. The Land of Buried Gods. The various clans had always arranged for spies to lurk in the inner area of the Land of Buried Gods, because only by doing so could they grasp the movements of the divine kingdom. Be careful. Somewhere in the inner area, 5 figures were lurking in the mountains. All of them were middle-aged. They were the spies of the various clans. The middle-aged man who reported to Qi Xiaoyun was among them. They concealed their aura and carefully hid in the mountains. Their eyes were all fixed on the same place in front of them, not daring to make any noise. The void in front of them. A large group of people was coming in a mighty manner. Leading them were Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang. Both of their faces were extremely gloomy. Especially Ryuko. 10 years ago, he was suppressed in the Soul Sealing Valley for 150,000 years. For him it was simply a stain that could not be washed away in his life. Moreover, although this matter was deliberately concealed by the king of the divine kingdom, the dragon godsword, and the red-haired old man, how could there be a wall in the world that did not leak? So later, it slowly spread in the divine kingdom. In the past 10 years, who knew how many people laughed at them behind their backs? Every day was a torment. His hatred for Qin Feiyang naturally grew stronger. Originally, the king did not let him come to the sky cloud realm this time, but he really could not swallow this resentment and insisted on coming to wash away this shame. Soon, a group of people arrived above the 5 and flew straight over. Phew! The 5 of them let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they were not discovered. Otherwise, with the anger of Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang, they would probably be cut into pieces. Someone is here? But suddenly, a suspicious voice sounded in the sky. A young man of the divine kingdom looked down at the mountain and immediately found the 5. Oh no! The 5's faces changed dramatically. They turned around and fled without hesitation. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang stopped and looked down at the 5. How dare you spy on us here? Courting death. Ryuko's eyes were filled with killing intent. Now, as long as it was someone from the sky cloud realm, they would become the target of his anger. As Ryuko finished speaking, a black-clothed youth beside him immediately took a step forward and chased after the 5 people. The 5 of them were not slow at all. This was because right now, coming to the land of the buried gods as spies was a matter of life and death. If they didn't have the courage and ability to do so, the various powerhouses wouldn't dare to send them here. The 5 of them were all paragon sovereigns. All of them had grasped profound truths of the highest order. Furthermore, he also had a supreme-level heaven-defying auxiliary divine art. With such a cultivation base and a deity technique of this level, it would not be a problem for him to escape. But, when the black-clothed young man saw that the 5 of them were quite fast, he immediately released the power of law from his body. This was the law of time. The next moment, he took a step forward and his speed instantly increased by a large margin. Shockingly, it was the supreme profound instant time. In just a few blinks of an eye, the black-clothed youth had caught up with the 5 of them and stood in front of them. What are you doing? We didn't do anything to you. Why are you chasing us? When 2 armies are at war, why don't you kill the envoys? The 5 of them were terrified. That makes sense, but there's no other way. Right now, Ryuko's mood is very bad. You can only blame yourselves for being unlucky. The black-clothed youth smiled coldly. Bastard! The 5 of them roared. One after another, profound truths appeared out of nowhere. Each of them grasped 2 to 3 kinds of profound truths. In the sky cloud realm, this was considered a cornerstone. But the black-clothed youth opposite them had a face full of disdain. Boom! With the emergence of the law of earth, a giant mountain appeared and suspended in the air. It was as if it was cast out of divine iron, and it shone with boundless radiance. You don't even have profound truths, yet you dare to monitor our movements. Aren't you courting death? Seems like the sky cloud realm is really nothing much. The black-clothed youth smiled contemptuously, and the giant mountain fell with a loud rumble. Following a loud explosion, the supreme ultimates of the 5 cultivators crumbled like rotten wood. Divine Kingdom, you heartless beasts, just you wait. Sooner or later you will die a horrible death. The 5 of them roared hysterically, and their eyes were filled with hatred. Hearing this, the black-clothed youth's face suddenly turned cold. The giant mountain burst out with a destructive aura and blasted toward the 5 of them. Buzz! But at this moment, accompanied by the appearance of a space-time tunnel, a white-clothed youth stepped out and stood in front of the 5 of them. With a wave of his hand, a river of stars fell, and the giant mountain was shattered. Profound truth of the law of space-time. The black-clothed youth's face changed slightly, and he quickly retreated. Lord Longchun. The 5 of them looked at the youth's back, and they were all wild with joy. That's right. The person who came was really Longchun. At the same time, Ryuko saw Longchun appear, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. All of you step back. Longchun looked at the black-clothed youth and said to the 5 people behind him, Yes, Lord, be careful. The 5 of them responded respectfully, turned around and flew away like lightning. Longchun's eyes flashed with killing intent. He looked up at Ryuko and said, The monarch has made a blood oath that you can't kill innocent people in the sky cloud realm. But looking at your current posture, it seems that you are going to kill everyone. Aren't you afraid that the monarch will be obliterated by the blood oath? Ryuko heard this and sneered. These ants came to monitor us and affect our mood. Is this considered killing innocent people? If that's the case, you're affecting my mood now. Does that mean I can kill you too? Long Chan waved his hand, and the river of stars suspended in the sky suddenly turned into a torrent, rolling toward the black-clothed youth. How dare you? The black-clothed youth turned around and ran. Ants are not worthy of shouting at me. Long Chan snorted coldly, and the river of stars covered the sky and earth. The black-clothed youth screamed on the spot, and his soul was destroyed. Then the river of stars returned to the sky above Long Chan, exuding a destructive aura. Good kill. The 5 people who had run far away to watch immediately roared when they saw this scene. Their expressions were incomparably excited. But Ryuko, Jiang Yunshuang, and tens of thousands of the Divine Kingdom's geniuses' faces suddenly darkened. To be honest, I'm not interested in fighting you. Because no matter how many times I kill you, you can be reborn again. This kind of battle is meaningless. Long Chan shook his head. His words were very calm, and he didn't mean to look down on anyone. However, when it landed in the ears of Long Zi and the others, it was a blatant humiliation to them. It was as if he was mocking them for leaving their divine souls in the Divine Kingdom, and not daring to have a real life and death battle with the geniuses of the Sky Cloud realm. That's right. If you have the ability, don't stay in the Divine Kingdom. Leave your divine souls in advance to save your lives. Do you dare? What's funny is that you call yourselves the geniuses of the Divine Kingdom. Are you worthy? Look at the geniuses of the Sky Cloud realm. Long Chan, Long Qin, Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, Madman Mo, and Golden Wing Wolf King. They never bothered to do this kind of thing. They are the real geniuses. You? At best, you are a group of cowards with no backbone and courage. You don't even deserve to carry their shoes. The 5 spies weren't as polite as Long Chan. Their insults and mocking laughter made Ryuko and the others gnash their teeth in anger. Long Chan didn't stop them. He didn't humiliate Ryuko and the others because he didn't care. But if others humiliated them, he wouldn't object. Because these people's expressions were very interesting and worth admiring. You really don't know what's good for you. One of the young men couldn't help but glance at the 5 spies. We don't know what's good for us, but we are better than you cowards. At least we have the courage to come here and spy on you. If it were you, would you dare to do this? I'm afraid you would wet your pants. Don't stare at us like that. If you really have the ability, then take back the divine soul you left in the Divine Kingdom, and fight to the death with the geniuses of the Sky Cloud realm. The 5 spies sneered. The young man was so angry that he went crazy. He took a step forward, and a slaughter law rolled out, turning into a bloody wave that covered the sky and surged toward the 5 spies. Long Chan waved his hand, and the Star River went against the current. With a loud bang, the bloody wave was annihilated in the void. Then the Star River roared and rushed toward the young man like an ancient giant beast. The young man's face turned pale, and he retreated in fear. Look, look, look. You bully the weak and fear the strong. You can only show off in front of us. When you meet Lord Long Chan, you are like a mouse meeting a cat. A genius of the Divine Kingdom? I think it's the Divine Kingdom that's useless. The 5 spies laughed. It was so satisfying. They were also glad that the Sky Cloud realm had people like Long Chan and Qin Feiyang. Otherwise, who could fight against the Divine Kingdom? Just like these people in front of them, any one of them had mastered the ultimate meaning. Seeing that the young man was about to be drowned by the Star River, Jiang Yunshuang took a step forward and landed in front of the young man. He activated the ultimate meaning of the time law and slashed out with his sword. Boom! The 2 ultimate meanings collided with a loud bang. A wave of world-destroying energy surged out in all directions like a tide. Retreat! The 5 spies' pupils shrank, and they turned around and fled. They had a hunch that the battle between Long Chan and the geniuses of the Divine Kingdom was about to break out. If they didn't escape quickly, they would definitely become a burden to Long Chan. Because when the time came, Long Chan would have to take care of them while fighting. Although they couldn't contribute much, they couldn't become a burden. Since you don't want to fight with us, Let the golden-winged wolf king come. Jiang Yunshuang stared at Long Chun and Qin Feiyang. Ryuko also landed beside Jiang Yunshuang and stared at Long Chun with sharp eyes. Them? Long Chun was slightly taken aback and shook his head. I want to find them too. What do you mean? The two of them frowned. Before coming I contacted them, but I couldn't get in touch with them. First I thought they were slacking off, but now I finally understand. Long Chun sighed. Understand what? The two of them were suspicious. Obviously. They don't want to fight with you. Long Chun sighed. Are they afraid of us? A young woman sneered. Afraid of you? Long Chun was stunned and looked at the young woman strangely. How could she say such ignorant words? He shook his head and said, Don't say this in front of Qin Feiyang and the golden-winged wolf king. Otherwise they will definitely laugh at you for having big breasts and no brains. You, the young woman frowned. Remember, they won't be afraid of anyone. They just don't want to play with you. Long Chun shook his head helplessly. It was really boring to fight with the geniuses of the Divine Kingdom. They would risk their lives to kill the other party, but not long after, the other party would appear in front of them alive and kicking. This kind of battle was like playing house. What was the point? Fighting with us is a joke? The tens of thousands of people of the Divine Kingdom trembled with anger when they heard this. These words were not lethal, but they were extremely insulting. Chapter 3959. Don't think that I am humiliating you. It's already not easy for you all to be able to reach this step. Long Chun smiled faintly. Aren't you humiliating us? The group of people clenched their fists, and their eyes were spitting fire. Each of you is strong, but why are your hearts so fragile? Long Chun was speechless. The flowers in the greenhouse couldn't withstand the blow. Since Qin Feiyang and the others are not here, then you will do it. I have heard of the realm of gods for a long time and I really want to see it. Jiang Yunshuang looked at Long Chun aggressively. Not interested. Long Chun shook his head. Jiang Yunshuang raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were not interested in them, and this person was also not interested in them. In these people's eyes, fighting with them was really a game? Since you are not interested, then what are you doing here? Ryuko's face was gloomy. I am here to ask for a favor. Long Chun smiled slightly. You have something to ask us? The group of people was stunned. What was going on? What is it? Ryuko frowned. Long Chun smiled and said, Please return to the Divine Kingdom first and come back half a year later. What is it? The group of people raised their eyebrows. They thought that there was really something to ask of them, but they didn't expect that it was to ask them to withdraw from the Sky Cloud realm. Or you can cultivate in the land of buried gods for half a year, and then enter the Sky Cloud realm after half a year. At that time, as long as you don't kill innocent people, we will not stop you. Long Chun smiled politely. Moreover, it was also a negotiable attitude. What a joke. Why should we listen to you? Someone sneered. Isn't this a negotiation? We are all young people. If there is something, sit together and discuss it slowly. There is no need to make a fuss as if we are mortal enemies. Long Chun smiled. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang looked at each other. What the hell was going on? Why did they insist on letting them enter the Sky Cloud realm after half a year? Wait a minute. Could it be that the Sky Cloud realm was planning something and didn't want them to know? Thinking of this, Ryuko's eyes flashed. He looked at the people behind him and said, Since you don't want to fight, let's not talk nonsense with him. Let's go. Immediately, under the two's lead, the group of people rushed towards the exit. Sigh. Aren't you making things difficult for me? Long Chun sighed and took a step forward. He actually used the supreme profound of the laws of time, instant time. In just an instant, he appeared in front of the group of people. What are you trying to do? I'm telling you, don't challenge our limits. Someone shouted angrily. Don't misunderstand. I really have no intention of fighting with you. Long Chun shook his head. Then scram, don't block the way. The attitude of this group of people was very rude. Get lost. Long Chun muttered as a wisp of cold light gradually suffused his eyes, and he smiled faintly. Since it's like this, then I might as well make it clear. So long as I'm here, all of you won't be able to leave the land of buried gods. Who do you think you are? You think you can stop so many of us? A trace of disdain appeared on many people's faces. Sigh. Why do you have to put on such an overbearing attitude when I'm talking to you nicely? You have to be clear that this is the Sky Cloud realm, not your divine kingdom. Longchan was helpless. It really confirmed the saying that kind people are bullied and kind horses are ridden. The more polite you are, the more arrogant the other party will be. Is it so difficult to respect each other? So what if it's the Sky Cloud realm? In front of our divine kingdom, the Sky Cloud realm is just a small place. Someone mocked. Since it's a small place and you don't care about it, then why do you keep coming to the Sky Cloud realm again and again? Are there any of your ancestors here? You want to come here to acknowledge your ancestors? Longchen frowned. It was another sentence that had little lethality but was extremely insulting. The group of people's faces turned gloomy again. Ryuko goddess, he's obviously picking a fight. This kind of person deserves to die 1,000 times. Every one of them was murderous, as if Longchen had dug up their ancestors' graves. Boom! A terrifying aura roared out from Jiang Yunshuang's body. Perfect dominator realm? Longchen was slightly taken aback. He comprehended a new law so quickly? And it was upgraded to the 5th profound? Counting carefully, it was only about 10 years. Even with the time array, even if his talent was outstanding, it was impossible to be so fast. Don't be surprised. Your Sky Cloud realm has its own law inheritance, let alone our divine kingdom. A trace of contempt crawled up in Jiang Yunshuang's eyes. The 3 ultimate profundities of time law, thunder law, and destruction law instantly appeared out of nowhere. The terrifying divine power shook all directions. That's true. Longchen nodded, frowned slightly and said, but do you really want to be so aggressive? I really don't want to waste my time on this meaningless battle. How could a place like the Divine Kingdom not have any law inheritance? Perhaps there were even inheritances of ultimate profundities. We'll know if it's meaningful after we fight. A cold light burst out in Jiang Yunshuang's eyes. The 3 ultimate profundities instantly carried the power to destroy the world as they charged toward Longchen. Everyone's patience has a limit, Longchen whispered. As his voice fell, the god's domain appeared. The moment the 3 ultimate profundities entered the god's domain, they immediately began to disintegrate and dissipate. What? It can actually nullify the ultimate profundities? What the hell is this? As the saying goes, hearing is false, seeing is believing. At this moment, witnessing the terror of the god's domain with their own eyes, the tens of thousands of people in the divine kingdom couldn't help but turn pale with fright. Soon, the 3 ultimate profundities completely dissipated in the god's domain. Longchen's body wasn't injured at all. Jiang Yunshuang could not help but frown when she saw this. It was indeed inconceivable. Boom! But the next moment, the god race mark between her eyebrows erupted with a dazzling divine light. The 3 ultimate profundities appeared again. This time, the power of the 3 ultimate profundities skyrocketed under the support of the god race mark. They could completely crush other ultimate profundities of the same level. I'd like to see how strong your god's domain is. Jiang Yunshuang's eyes turned cold as the 3 ultimate profundities attacked. With a loud bang, the god's domain immediately trembled. Longchen was shocked. This was the power of the god race mark? Could actually shake the god's domain. However, although the 3 ultimate profundities could shake the god's domain, when the 3 ultimate profundities entered the god's domain, they immediately began to dissipate. But the speed was very slow. Compared to before, it was several times slower. Longchen's eyes darkened. She didn't expect the god race mark to be so strong. It seemed that the god's domain also had a limit. In other words, when encountering methods that surpassed the ultimate profundities, it couldn't be easily nullified. Haha, this is the god's domain? It's only SOS. The god race mark is still stronger. The group of people laughed. But Ryuko didn't say a word during the whole process. He was staring at Longchen. In the blink of an eye, the 3 ultimate profundities had already arrived in front of Longchen, but they didn't dissipate much. It seemed that Longchen was about to be drowned by the 3 ultimate profundities. Swish! Longchen took a step back. The 3 ultimate profundities immediately whizzed past him and blasted into the ground below. Boom! The ground suddenly collapsed and sank, showing a scene of the end of the world. It was also at this moment. With a crack, the god's domain instantly shattered. What? The god's domain was actually broken. The 5 scouts in the distance were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. This must be a dream. When they looked at Zhang Yunchuang again, the 5 of them couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. This was the power of the god race mark? It was too terrifying. Phew. Seeing the god's domain shatter, Ryuko finally let out a sigh of relief. The reason why he called Zhang Yunchuang to come to the Sky Cloud realm was to see if the power of the god race mark could break the god's domain. In other words, before he wasn't completely sure. But now the fact was in front of him. The god race mark could indeed threaten Long Chun. The god's domain is no longer a concern. Let's see how you can still be arrogant. Immediately after, Ryuko looked at Long Chun and sneered. Long Chun's face was a little pale. The shattering of the god's domain caused him a lot of injuries. But he didn't care about the injuries. His eyes were locked on the mark between Zhang Yunchuang's eyebrows. It seemed that only a madman who controlled the source of all evil could face the god race mark head-on. This god's domain isn't much. Zhang Yunchuang turned his head to look at Ryuko and said proudly. Ryuko raised his eyebrows. He was a little unhappy with Zhang Yunchuang's attitude. This was not only ridiculing Long Chun, but also ridiculing him. Because in the beginning, he was defeated by Long Chun. But now, Zhang Yunchuang broke the god's domain with his own strength. Wasn't this equivalent to saying that he was inferior to Zhang Yunchuang in disguise? But, although he couldn't break the god's domain with his 3,000 incarnations, he could crush Zhang Yunchuang. It really proved a sentence. Nothing could escape the fate of mutual promotion and restraint. Long Chun could defeat Ryuko, Ryuko could defeat Zhang Yunchuang, and Zhang Yunchuang could defeat Long Chun. After breaking the god's domain, Zhang Yunchuang's confidence soared. Boom! A strange aura burst out. The law of death. The 18 layers of hell instantly appeared in the sky. Long Chun was taken aback. Last time when Zhang Yunchuang fought with the white-eyed wolf in the demonic palace, she didn't activate the ultimate meaning of the law of death. Could it be that she, who was deprived of her cultivation by the white-eyed wolf, had integrated with the inheritance of the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death? In other words, the current Zhang Yunchuang had mastered 4 ultimate meanings. I still have to thank the golden-winged wolf king. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to obtain the inheritance of this ultimate meaning. Zhang Yunchuang sneered. The other 3 ultimate meanings appeared again. The 4 ultimate profundities unleashed heaven-destroying, earth-exterminating power toward Long Chun. Long Chun took a deep breath, and the god's domain appeared again, covering all directions. It's already useless. What's the point of activating it? Zhang Yunchuang sneered. The god's domain is not as simple as you think. Long Chun smiled faintly. As the 4 ultimate meanings entered the god's domain, an invisible force emerged and surged toward the 4 ultimate meanings. How is this possible? A domain can actually produce the power of rules? Chapter 3960. This is not the power of laws, but the power of heaven and earth. Rumble. Long Chun opened his mouth and an invisible force continuously blasted towards the 4 ultimate mysteries. The destructive aura roared in all directions. The god's domain is a domain of its own. As the owner of the god's domain, I am the master here, controlling the power of heaven and earth in the domain. Whoever I want to destroy will be destroyed. Long Chun stood in the center of the god's domain like a king. Under the pressure of the invisible force, the 4 ultimate mysteries immediately began to collapse. Don't even think about it. Zhang Yunchuang roared. No matter how heaven-defying the god's domain was, it was impossible to destroy the ultimate mysteries that had been blessed with the mark of the god race. The 4 ultimate mysteries constantly collided with the power of heaven and earth in the god's domain. Destroy, Long Chun said coldly. With a loud bang, the 4 ultimate mysteries collapsed on the spot. Puff! Zhang Yunchuang spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. However, at the same time the god's domain shattered again. It seemed that no matter how heaven-defying the god's domain was, there was still a limit. But even so, it was shocking enough. Because up until now, the only person who could do this was a madman. Terrifying, really terrifying. Are all the people of the sky cloud realm so powerful? The tens of thousands of people in the divine kingdom could no longer be happy and looked at Long Chan in shock. It turned out that this was the true power of the god's domain. Not to mention anything else, just this method alone was enough to sweep them away. Let me help you. Ryuko clenched his hands and landed beside Jiang Yunshuang. This person's threat was too great. He must take advantage of the fact that Qin Feiyong and the others were not present to get rid of him. No need. I can get rid of him. Jiang Yunshuang waved his hand. His eyes suddenly turned golden and emitted rays of blazing divine light. Immediately, a majestic life force emerged and shrouded Jiang Yunshuang. An incredible scene appeared. The injuries Jiang Yunshuang suffered before were healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his pale face became rosy. Long Chan was bewildered. Even if you have the domain of divinity, you will still die here today. After Jiang Yunshuang recovered from his injuries, he took a step forward and charged toward Long Chan. Rumble. A great battle was about to begin. He had to admit that Jiang Yunshuang was really strong. Even though Long Chan had activated his domain of divinity, it was still a lose-lose situation. The strange thing was, at this moment Jiang Yunshuang's golden eyes were emitting a golden divine light that contained a boundless life force. No matter how severe the injuries were, they could be healed quickly. Could this be? Long Chan suddenly thought of something, and his gaze couldn't help but tremble. The Eye of Life. That was right. This was the Eye of Life, one of the 10 most powerful battle souls. If he remembered correctly, Qin Feiyong's wife, the mermaid princess, had the Eye of Life. Interesting. The corner of Long Chen's mouth lifted, and he sent a sound transmission. Sky God Sword, immediately tell Qin Feiyong that the other half of the Eye of Life is on Jiang Yunshuang. This time Qin Feiyong had no choice but to make a move. Unless he didn't want Jiang Yunshuang's Eye of Life. The battle became more and more intense. With the help of the Eye of Life and the God Clan's imprint, Jiang Yunshuang was like a tireless war goddess. Long Chen's situation was getting worse and worse. This was also the second time in his life that he had fallen into a bitter battle. The first time was in the ancient world, when he fought with Qin Feiyong. That time, his domain of divinity was far from being as powerful as it was now. Of course, Qin Feiyong's Eye of Heaven had not evolved at that time. However, although he was no match for Jiang Yunshuang, Long Chan was not discouraged. After all, the God Clan's imprint was a power that was difficult to surpass. Moreover, even if he couldn't beat him, wasn't there still the madman in Qin Feiyong? Now, everyone hugged each other. Personal heroism was no longer important. Besides, he couldn't beat Jiang Yunshuang, but he could beat Ryuko and the human pride of the divine kingdom. He was already very satisfied to be able to do this. The castle hasn't responded. A moment later, the voice of the sky god sword sounded in his mind. What? He's still ignoring it. Does he really not want the Eye of Life? Long Chan raised his eyebrows. Boom! A moment of distraction caused him to suffer a fatal injury. His entire body flew out like a meteorite, and his body was almost torn apart. Die! Jiang Yunshuang took the opportunity to activate the 4 ultimate profound meanings and crazily attacked Long Chan. Brother! But at this moment, Long Qin landed in the sky. Seeing this situation, his face immediately changed. He quickly stood in front of Long Chan and activated the 3 ultimate profound meanings of the 3 ultimate laws to attack Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate profound meanings. No! Long Chan roared. Long Qin's strength was very strong, but Jiang Yunshuang, who had the God Clan's imprint, was even stronger. As expected, Long Qin's 3 ultimate profound meanings were directly shattered like dead wood. The 4 ultimate profound meanings quickly approached, and Long Qin immediately felt a fatal threat. She made a prompt decision. She grabbed Long Chan, activated the momentary time, turned around and flew away. Haha, the famous Long Qin actually chose to escape? What a joke. Of course, tens of thousands of people in the divine kingdom wouldn't miss this opportunity and immediately mocked. Long Qin's face was ugly. He said angrily, brother, why do you like to show off so much? Qin Feiyong and the others don't care. What are you doing here? If I hadn't arrived in time, you would have died in their hands. Someone has to fight. Besides, I didn't plan to fight with them. Long Chun took a divine life pill and said with a wry smile, "You can't escape." Jiang Yunshuang followed closely behind. Long Qin's eyes darkened. He turned to look at Jiang Yunshuang. When he saw Jiang Yunshuang's eyes, a trace of surprise appeared on his face. Why did it look like the Eye of Life? "It is the Eye of Life," Long Chun said. "Then we must kill her and destroy her Eye of Life. We can't let Qin Feiyang get it. Otherwise, when his wife fuses with it, it will be a disaster for us in the future." Long Qin's eyes flashed with killing intent. "No. The Eye of Life will help us fight against the Divine Kingdom in the future." Long Chun shook his head. "But Qin Feiyang and the others will become our enemies sooner or later." Long Qin frowned. "Let's talk about it when we become enemies." Long Chen's attitude was very firm. Long Qin was extremely annoyed when he heard this. At this time he was still thinking about Qin Feiyang and the others. There should be a limit to his kindness. Ayaya! Suddenly, a strange cry rang out. Long Chun and his sister were slightly stunned. Wasn't this the voice of the white-eyed wolf? They quickly looked up and saw a young man in a golden robe in the void in front of them. Who else could it be but the white-eyed wolf? Golden-winged Wolf King. When Jiang Yunshuang saw the white-eyed wolf, his eyes suddenly surged with killing intent. However, the white-eyed wolf directly ignored him and looked at Long Chun and his sister. He joked, "Why are you in such a mess?" Jiang Yunshuang almost went berserk at this kind of disregard. Long Chun had a wry smile on his face. Long Qin's face was full of anger. Why were they in such a mess? Wasn't it because they wanted to protect the Sky Cloud realm? How could they laugh at them? It was too much. Soon, the three people met. Long Qin coldly snorted, "Bastard, if you don't kill them today, don't say that you are from the Sky Cloud realm in the future." "I am not from the Sky Cloud realm." "Are you?" The white-eyed wolf smiled playfully. "Get lost." Long Qin shouted angrily. "Haha." The white-eyed wolf laughed happily and looked up at Jiang Yunshuang. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly and he said playfully, "Isn't this that guy? I didn't expect to meet again so soon." "Go to hell." Jiang Yunshuang waved his hand, and his eyes were a little red. The four ultimate mysteries directly attacked the white-eyed wolf. The law of death? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. After depriving this woman of a cultivation realm, it actually made her a lot stronger. However, it seemed that she was even more insensible than before. Hey, do you want her to despair? If you want, come and help." The white-eyed wolf looked at the Long Chun siblings and said. The siblings looked at each other and immediately walked to the white-eyed wolf's side. Boom! In an instant, Long Qin activated the three ultimate mysteries. Long Chun waved his hand and the god's domain reappeared, covering all directions. Following closely, the three ultimate mysteries and the power of heaven and earth surrounded the four ultimate mysteries. What kind of power is this? The white-eyed wolf felt the power of heaven and earth and his expression slightly stiffened. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up!" Long Qin shouted. The white-eyed wolf came back to his senses and took a deep look at Long Chun. Accompanied by a dazzling golden light, a giant golden shadow roared out. Immediately, a magnificent power enveloped Jiang Yunshuang. "This is..." Jiang Yunshuang's expression changed and immediately shouted, "Ryuko, help, this is his battle soul." How could she forget the white-eyed wolf's battle soul? Back then in the demon palace, because of carelessness, she was deprived of a cultivation realm. Ryuko's pupils shrank and immediately activated the 3,000 incarnations. All the ultimate mysteries instantly appeared in the sky and attacked the golden beast shadow. "Little sister, hang in there." Long Chun suddenly looked up at the thousands of ultimate mysteries and reminded Long Qin. Then with the god's domain, he rushed into the sky and stood in front of the golden beast shadow. When the thousands of ultimate mysteries entered the god's domain, they immediately began to collapse. Damn it! Jiang Yunshuang was enraged. The ultimate mysteries crazily attacked Long Qin. As long as Long Qin was forced to retreat, the white-eyed wolf would be directly injured and the battle soul would naturally be interrupted midway. And Long Qin's ultimate mysteries could not block the ultimate mysteries that were enhanced by the god's clan mark. With a loud bang, the three ultimate mysteries were shattered on the spot. Long Qin spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was pale. Die! Jiang Yunshuang roared. The 4 ultimate mysteries carried rolling divine power and attacked Long Qin. Do you think I don't exist? A cold light flashed in the white-eyed wolf's eyes. Boom! The power of laws emerged one after another. In an instant, the 3 ultimate mysteries appeared. What? Long Qin was bewildered. The ultimate mysteries of the law of time, the ultimate mysteries of the law of death, and the ultimate mysteries of the law of cause and effect. What was going on? Didn't this wolf cub master the ultimate mysteries of the law of time? When did the 2 ultimate mysteries of the law of death and the law of cause and effect? Chapter 3961. Don't admire me. I'm just a legend. The white-eyed wolf grinned at Long Qin. 3 ultimate mysteries instantly shattered the sky and charged toward Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate mysteries. Shameless. Long Qin rolled his eyes. At the same time, Jiang Yunshuang also looked at the white-eyed wolf in disbelief. Because the last time they fought, the white-eyed wolf only had the ultimate mysteries of the law of time. How long had it been? He actually had 2 more ultimate mysteries. Could it be that he was still hiding his strength in the demonic palace? However, so what if he had 3 ultimate mysteries? Could he block her 4 ultimate mysteries that were enhanced by the God Clan mark? However, just as she was full of confidence, she suddenly discovered that her 4 ultimate mysteries were showing signs of collapsing. What's going on? She hurriedly looked at Long Qin. But Long Qin was in the sky, and his God's domain did not envelop her ultimate mysteries. Since his God's domain did not envelop her ultimate mysteries, why were they collapsing? Actually, she did not know. This was because the white-eyed wolf was depriving her of her 4 ultimate laws. Because of the deprivation, they were showing signs of collapsing. Once all of them were deprived, they would completely disappear. Don't just stand there. Continue to buy some time for me. The white-eyed wolf shouted. Long Qin quivered and once again activated his 3 ultimate mysteries. He charged forward with the white-eyed wolf's 3 ultimate mysteries. Boom! The white-eyed wolf's 3 ultimate mysteries finally met with Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate mysteries. With a loud bang, they were annihilated on the spot. But Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate mysteries were showing signs of collapsing. This made her extremely surprised and suspicious. What was going on? Boom! Very quickly, Long Qin's 3 ultimate mysteries collided with Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate mysteries, and they were still as unstoppable as before. Deprive! It was also at this moment. The white-eyed wolf growled. The golden beast's shadow also let out a deafening roar. Suddenly, a gust of wind howled and a terrifying aura enveloped the entire area. Puff! The next moment, Jiang Yunshuang spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face instantly turned pale. A 7-colored thunderbolt shot out from her body and flew toward the golden beast's mouth. This was her law of lightning. Because the law of lightning was an ordinary law, it was easier to strip it away than the other 3 supreme laws. When the lightning origin law was swallowed by the huge golden figure, the lightning origin law that Jiang Yunshuang had unleashed immediately disappeared. Not only were the tens of thousands of people from the divine kingdom shocked, but even Ryuko was shocked. What happened? Why had the laws of lightning's ultimate profundity suddenly disappeared? And why was Jiang Yunshuang vomiting blood as if he had suffered a serious injury? Then look at Jiang Yunshuang himself. At this moment, her head was lowered and her face was filled with disbelief. The law of lightning had actually disappeared. How could this happen? The law of lightning was something that she had painstakingly comprehended. How could it disappear? This must be a dream. She hurriedly tried to activate the law of lightning again but found that there was no trace of the law of lightning in her body. Could it be that, all of a sudden, she raised her head and stared at the golden beast shadow? Her eyes were filled with horror. This was not depriving her of her cultivation, but her laws. Damn it! What kind of fighting soul was this? Not only could it deprive her of her cultivation, but it could also deprive her of her laws. It was too terrifying. Was this person a human or a ghost? Retreat! Feeling that the 3 supreme laws were also leaving her body, she could not help but feel her scalp go numb. If her 3 supreme laws were also stripped away, it would simply be a calamity for her. Immediately she turned around and fled. Her face was pale. This was simply a devil. This, Ryuko and the others looked at Zhang Yunshuang in shock. It was clearly a situation where victory was in her grasp. Why did she suddenly flee? Fleeing? The white-eyed wolf frowned. He did not expect this woman to be so fragile. As long as he was given a little more time, he would definitely be able to deprive Zhang Yunshuang of her 3 supreme laws. Dodge! Long Qin shouted. Although Zhang Yunshuang had escaped, the ultimate mysteries of the 3 supreme laws were still there. They frantically attacked the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf looked at the 3 ultimate mysteries. The 3 ultimate mysteries were supported by the God Clan imprint and could not be met head-on. Swish! He activated the moment of time and instantly appeared above the tens of thousands of people. Seeing this, Long Qin knew the white-eyed wolf's purpose. He also activated the moment of time and landed above the tens of thousands of people. Boom! The ultimate mysteries of the 3 supreme laws blasted into the ground in the distance. A destructive aura suddenly surged in all directions. At the same time, seeing the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin appear above the tens of thousands of people, Zhang Yunshuang's expression changed abruptly. She hurriedly shouted, "Run! He wants to deprive you of your laws." Deprive us of our laws? The group of people looked at each other. How is this possible? Even Ryuko did not believe it. I'm not joking with you. Hurry! Zhang Yunshuang roared angrily. Seeing this, the group of people immediately turned into birds and animals and fled in fear. Although it was unbelievable, Zhang Yunshuang did not seem to be joking. Ryuko's face was also full of surprise. He activated the moment of time and rushed to Zhang Yunshuang's side like lightning. Ignore them. Return to the divine kingdom. Zhang Yunshuang glanced at the tens of thousands of people and decisively turned around and rushed toward the core area. Ryuko followed behind. He looked at the white-eyed wolf, his heart full of surprise. Until now, he still did not dare to believe that the white-eyed wolf had such an ability. Both of them controlled the moment of time, so naturally they escaped quickly. But the others were not so lucky. Of course, among these tens of thousands of people, there were a few who controlled the moment of time. But their situation was different from Ryuko's. Zhang Yunshuang fled as soon as possible. Ryuko and the white-eyed wolf did not specifically target him. After all, he had 3,000 avatars. It was still very difficult to target him. But these tens of thousands of people, when Zhang Yunshuang let them escape, the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin had already arrived above them. So at this time they still wanted to escape. Was it too late? Obviously it was too late. Long Qin immediately attacked. The power of the 3 laws rolled out. A giant barrier instantly fell, imprisoning all of the tens of thousands of people inside. The white-eyed wolf immediately began to deprive them of their laws. What kind of power is this? Why do I feel that the laws are uncontrollably breaking away? Could it be that what Zhang Yunshuang said was true? He can deprive us of our laws. No, it wasn't easy for me to comprehend these laws. I don't want to lose them. Quickly blast open the barrier. The group of people went crazy. All kinds of profound meanings appeared and frantically bombarded the barrier. But they did not master the ultimate profound meaning of the strongest law, so it was difficult to blast open the barrier. He can really deprive. No, Golden-Winged Wolf King, please have mercy. What's the use of begging him? Quickly self-destruct. As long as we self-destruct, he can't deprive us of our laws. Some people knelt down and begged for mercy. There were also people who roared hysterically. Self-destruct? Long Chan stepped into the air with his god's domain and entered the barrier. That moment, tens of thousands of people were enveloped by the god's domain. I didn't want to go too far, but you people are too insensible. If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know what's good for you. Sea of Qi, shatter for me. As Long Chen's voice fell, waves of heaven and earth power emerged and rushed toward the tens of thousands of people. Screams of pain and agony immediately rang out. That invisible heaven and earth power was like an indestructible sharp arrow, piercing through the sea of Qi of tens of thousands of people, leaving behind bloody holes. Fresh blood flowed. The entire god's domain turned blood red in an instant. What kind of method is this? The white-eyed wolf was shocked. The god's domain actually had such a strong lethality. He had always thought that the ability of the god's domain was to make the divine arts, profound meanings, and so on useless. He did not expect that it also had such a terrifying lethality. In less than 3 breaths, tens of thousands of people's sea of qi were all destroyed. Fresh blood gathered in the god's domain. It was a shocking sight. After doing all this, Long Chen closed the god's domain, left the barrier and landed beside Long Qin. Long Qin waved his hand, and a wave of pressure enveloped the area. Tens of thousands of people were immediately imprisoned in the barrier, and they did not even have the chance to self-destruct their souls. Immediately, she looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "You can take it away now." "Hey!" The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "Don't, my law, I beg you, don't take away my law. I'll be your cow and horse." Tens of thousands of people were in despair. But whether it was the white-eyed wolf or the Long Chen siblings, they all had cold faces. Soon, the laws of tens of thousands of people rushed out of their bodies one by one and poured into the golden beast's wide mouth. Immediately, they felt that they had lost all their laws. "It's not over yet." The white-eyed wolf revealed a sinister smile and began to deprive the cultivation of tens of thousands of people again. Long Chen and Long Qin looked at each other. This white-eyed wolf must not be provoked. He was even more terrifying than Qin Feiyang and the madman. After depriving them of their laws, he began to deprive them of their cultivation. This was simply not giving them a way out and completely destroying them. "My law, my cultivation, beast, I curse you to die a horrible death. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go." Tens of thousands of people roared in despair. Without laws and without cultivation, he was basically a cripple. "Still cursing me?" The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. He continued to deprive a group of their cultivation. Undead realm, Nine Heavens realm, Paragon God, Monarch God, War Emperor, War Master, War Emperor, War King, Martial Ancestor, Martial Master, Martial Artist. Finally, tens of thousands of people's cultivation were completely deprived. They had no cultivation at all and were reduced to real mortals. For tens of thousands of people, this was more than just despair. Their eyes fell into darkness and they lost all hope. Even if they still had their souls in the divine kingdom, so what? Even the cultivation of a martial artist was gone. After being reborn, they would just be immortal. Cultivate from the beginning? What a joke. How long would it take to regain the cultivation of the sovereign realm? How long would it take to recomprehend the laws and the ultimate meaning? They didn't dare to imagine. Because when they thought of these questions, they even had the heart to die. All their hopes were dashed. Chapter 3962. The white-eyed wolf's mind moved, and the golden beast's shadow disappeared. He looked at Long Qin and said, "Send them back to the divine kingdom." Long Qin waved his hand, and the enchantment collapsed, turning into a violent hurricane. Accompanied by painful screams, tens of thousands of people's blood splattered in the sky. This was the fastest way to send them back to the divine kingdom. Once the original body died, the soul left in the divine kingdom could begin to rebuild the body. However, now these people probably didn't even have the thought of rebuilding the body, because their hearts were already dead. "Brother Wolf, aren't you going to chase after Jiang Yunshuang?" Long Chen took another divine elixir of life and asked the white-eyed wolf with a smile. "Why should I chase her?" The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. "Didn't you notice it just now? Her battle soul is the eye of life." Long Chen said. "What?" The white-eyed wolf was shocked. When he came here before, he did notice Jiang Yunshuang's eyes, but because the battle was too urgent, he didn't think too much about it. If the mermaid princess can integrate with Jiang Yunshuang's eye of life, then when we fight in the future, it is equivalent to having a real immortal body. Long Chen smiled slightly, his eyes full of expectation. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" The white-eyed wolf glared at Long Chen angrily and immediately opened a space-time channel. "Didn't I ask the celestial sword to inform the castle?" Long Chen frowned. "I haven't been in the Black Tortoise world these years. What's the use of informing it?" The white-eyed wolf went into the space-time channel. Long Chen and Long Qin looked at each other and hurriedly followed. The core area. In front of the divine kingdom, Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang stood together, looking at the inner area. But the distance was too far. They couldn't see anything. "Are you sure he can strip the law?" Ryuko frowned. "Nonsense. My law of lightning has already been taken by him. Jiang Yunshuang's eyes were filled with resentment. Ryuko was shocked and asked in a deep voice, "Then why hasn't your cultivation changed?" "How would I know?" Jiang Yunshuang glared at Ryuko angrily. He didn't give him any face at all. Then, he pondered for a moment and guessed. Maybe it's because the deprivation of laws doesn't affect one's cultivation. A cold glint flashed in Ryuko's eyes as he said, "Then you've still profited?" "What do you mean?" Jiang Yunshuang frowned. "Last time, because he took away your cultivation, you obtained the inheritance of the law of death's ultimate profundity. That's equivalent to having one more law. In other words, you have 7 laws. This time, he took away your law of thunder, but his cultivation didn't change. It's the same. You're still the same as before. You still control 6 daos of law. The only difference is that the law of lightning has been replaced by the law of death. An ordinary law has been exchanged for an ultimate law. If that's not profiting, then what is?" Ryuko said lightly. "How can you understand this matter? Isn't it good to have one more law? Moreover, it's an ultimate law. You're mocking me, aren't you? I've suffered losses twice in the hands of the golden-winged wolf king." Jiang Yunshuang said angrily. "Even my father has to give you some face. How would I dare to mock you?" Ryuko shrugged. But his meaning was quite obvious. "Don't be so sarcastic. No matter how bad I am, I'm still better than you. At least Long Chan and Long Qin were defeated by me." Jiang Yunshuang retorted mercilessly. Ryuko clenched his fists, killing intent flashing in his eyes. This was killing intent toward Long Chan and Jiang Yunshuang. "Just you wait. The golden-winged wolf king will kneel at my feet and beg for mercy sooner or later." Jiang Yunshuang snorted coldly, turned around, and entered the gate of the divine kingdom without looking back. Ryuko glanced at Jiang Yunshuang's back, then lowered his head to look at the core area. A hint of hostility flashed between his eyebrows, and then he also entered the gate of the divine kingdom. It was also at this moment. The white-eyed wolf landed in the sky above the core area. Looking at Ryuko's back, he couldn't help but frown. "I'm a step too late." Long Chan shook his head. "It doesn't matter. They'll come again anyway. However, Ryuko seems to have been defeated by us for the 3rd time. Jiang Yunshuang is also defeated for the 2nd time. I wonder what interesting things will happen the next time we meet?" The white-eyed wolf's face was full of playfulness. Long Qin retracted his gaze, looked at the white-eyed wolf and asked Wolf Cub, "What's the matter with your ultimate meaning?" Hearing this, Long Chan immediately looked at the white-eyed wolf. Jiang Yunshuang thought that the white-eyed wolf had hidden his strength before, but he was very clear about the white-eyed wolf's situation. The inheritance of the ultimate meaning of the law of time was given to the white-eyed wolf by the blood ancestor. But now, after disappearing for a period of time, the white-eyed wolf had mastered the ultimate meaning of the law of death and the law of cause and effect. If there was nothing strange about this, he would have chopped off his head on the spot and used it as a stool. "Are you familiar with him?" The white-eyed wolf looked at the two of them, and after a long time, he choked out a sentence that was infuriating to death. Long Chun was fine, because his temperament had always been good. But Long Qin couldn't wait to slap him. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and chuckled. "Actually, it's no big deal to tell you." The two of them immediately looked at him curiously. The white-eyed wolf glanced around sneakily and said in a low voice, "A few years ago, I dreamed of the god of creation. He said that I was handsome and had extraordinary talent, and that I was very fated with him. So he gave me a few inheritances of the ultimate meaning." When the brother and sister heard this, even Long Chun, who was good-tempered, couldn't help but frown. "You don't believe me? I'm not lying to you. I've never lied." The white-eyed wolf looked at the two of them very seriously. "Get lost." The brother and sister shouted at the same time. Did he really think that they were 3-year-old children? The god of creation? Why didn't he say that the god of creation wanted to take him as his godson? They had never seen such an unreliable guy. "Forget it if you don't believe me." The white-eyed wolf turned his head and scanned the core area. Why didn't little Qin Zi appear? Immediately, he released his divine consciousness. He thought that Qin Feiyong was still in the core area. In the end, his divine consciousness searched the entire core area but didn't find the Black Tortoise realm. Where is he? The white-eyed wolf looked at Long Chen and his sister. You're their brother. If you don't know, how can we know? Long Chen's face darkened. Girls shouldn't have such a bad temper. Be careful that you won't be able to get married in the future. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Long Chen was immediately furious. But at this moment, Long Chen also nodded and said, I've been persuading her to do so. Brother. Long Chen suddenly went crazy. Was this really her biological brother? Sure enough. Great minds think alike. The white-eyed wolf put his arm around Long Chen's shoulder and kept baring his teeth at Long Chen. You two are biological brothers. I'm just an outsider, okay? Long Chen glared at the two of them angrily, turned around and left. Long Chen shook his head and laughed. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, You really don't know where Qin Feiyang is? Am I that untrustworthy to you? I just came out of seclusion. How would I know? The white-eyed wolf rubbed his forehead. Then where exactly is this kid? Long Chen frowned. Wait. I'll send a message and ask. The white-eyed wolf took out the divine sound transmission stone and sent a message to Qin Feiyang. However, after waiting for a long time, there was still no response. Strange. The white-eyed wolf muttered and sent a message to Madman. Very soon, Madman's shadow appeared and asked the white-eyed wolf, When did you come out of seclusion? Just now. The white-eyed wolf responded and asked, Where are you now? I don't know. Madman shook his head. You don't know? The white-eyed wolf and Long Chen looked at each other. We are all in the black tortoise world, but old Qin, this guy, he said that he wants to go out and relax, so we don't know where he is now. Madman said, Relax. The corner of Long Chen's mouth twitched. He was really carefree. The white-eyed wolf was also speechless. He is outside alone? Yes. Madman nodded. The white-eyed wolf said, Since you are in the black tortoise world, you can directly send a message to him. Quickly ask him where he is now. Do you have something urgent? Madman was suspicious. No. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. If not, why are you looking for him? Madman rolled his eyes. Damn. If there is nothing urgent, I can't even look for him. We have only been separated for a short time, and you are already treating me as an outsider? The white-eyed wolf was furious. No. Old Qin went out to relax, mainly to ponder the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death. So at this time, I don't want to disturb him. Madman explained. So that's the case. The white-eyed wolf nodded in realization and helplessly said, All right then, I will take a stroll outside first. As long as you are happy. Madman chuckled and looked at Long Chen, asking, How is the battle in the land of buried gods? Long Chen was stunned and frowned. You know that there is a battle in the land of buried gods? I know. Didn't the heavenly god sword contact the castle? The castle told me. Madman nodded. Since you know, why didn't you come to help? Long Chen's face was dark. You can't blame me for this, I can't go out. Madman grinned. When Long Chen heard this, he really had the urge to curse. He realized that he really couldn't interact with these guys too much, otherwise he would go crazy sooner or later. Calm down, calm down. Madman smiled and comforted him, asking, What do you think of Jiang Yunshuang's strength? Very strong. Especially the mark of the god race. He can even break my god's domain. Long Chen frowned. As expected. Madman chuckled. He already expected that although Long Chen could easily defeat Ryuko, facing Jiang Yunshuang, he would definitely fall into a bitter battle. In the future, when facing the god race, only you and Qin Feiyang can act. As for me, I will be responsible for dealing with the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan and the humans of the Divine Kingdom. Long Chen shook his head. Madman pondered for a while and curiously asked, Then tell me, you and old Qin, if the three of us fight, who will be the final winner? Long Chen lowered his head and thought, It's hard to say. Jiang Yunshuang can suppress me with the mark of the god race. You have the power of the source of all evil, so you can definitely suppress me, but your power of the source of all evil can't defeat Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations. That's for sure. Not only does old Qin have 3,000 incarnations, he also has the Eye of Heaven. Who can beat him? Madman shook his head helplessly. At least you know your limits. However, if Qin Feiyang faces me, my god's domain can restrain his 3,000 incarnations. As long as he enters the god's domain, he won't be able to activate his 3,000 incarnations. As for the Eye of Heaven, without the help of the 3,000 incarnations, it won't be much of a threat to me. Longchen smiled. So you have the confidence to defeat Old Qin? Madman was taken aback and asked. Currently, I do have confidence, but when he comprehends the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, it will be a different matter. Longchen shook his head and smiled. It seems that from the current situation, our methods actually restrain each other. Madman frowned. That's why we need to work together. As for the personal grudges between us, let's talk about it later. Longchen seemed very calm. It seemed that he didn't care about the previous grudges. Chapter 3963. You're quite open-minded. The madman chuckled. He was probably the only person in the world who could be so calm in the face of the extermination of his clan. He asked, then what about going to the Divine Kingdom? Go to the Divine Kingdom? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. When you were in seclusion on Skycloud Island, Old Qin and I discussed it. If we want to change the current situation of the Skycloud realm, we must move the battlefield to the Divine Kingdom. The madman's eyes flashed coldly. Why didn't you inform me of such an important matter? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Weren't you in seclusion? We also sent Li Feng to find you, but Little Rabbit didn't let him see you. The madman shrugged and then said, however, we didn't forget you. Isn't this the same as you coming out? When? The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed. When to go depends on the opinion of the person next to you. The madman glanced at Longchen. The white-eyed wolf immediately turned to Longchen and urged, you're a man, don't be so wishy-washy. Just say it, do you want to go or not? I'm different from you. You have Feather Emperor and Blood Ancestor behind you. Even if you leave the Skycloud realm, they will be there. But if the dragons leave me now, they will be leaderless. Longchen smiled bitterly. Isn't your mother still with the dragons? Even your sister Longqin is in your father's hands. She obtained so many ultimate inheritances, let alone your mother. The madman's mouth lifted. He had to admit that the dragon sovereign really knew how to find a backer. After so many years, he had never seen an existence stronger than the ice dragon and the small beast. Longchen looked at the madman and pondered for a moment. He then looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, I'll think about it. Besides, Qin Feiyong hasn't made a move yet. Wishy-washy. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of contempt. Longchen was helpless. The Divine Kingdom. This was a world several times larger than the Skycloud realm. The entire land was filled with undulating mountains and verdant vegetation. Clouds and mist lingered between the mountains, making it look like a fairyland. At a certain place, there was a huge city floating in the sky. The scale of this city alone was comparable to the entire eastern continent. In the city, not only were there golden and dazzling buildings, there were also countless strange and lofty mountains. When looked at from afar, it was like an immortal palace that emitted a majestic aura. This was the most sacred place in the Divine Kingdom, the city in the sky. It was also the ancestral land of the purple gold divine dragons. Traces of the purple gold divine dragon could be seen from time to time in the city and in the mountains. At the center of the sky city was a gargantuan mountain that was over 10,000 feet tall, upon which sat a dazzling golden palace. At this moment, inside the palace, the monarch sat on the throne. Ryuko and Zhang Yunshuang stood respectfully below as they recounted their experiences in the land of buried gods. After a long time, the two of them finally finished their narration and went silent, waiting for the king's punishment. Because this time, the Divine Kingdom had suffered too heavy a loss. Tens of thousands of geniuses were deprived of their cultivation and laws. As the leaders, Ryuko and Zhang Yunshuang naturally could not absolve themselves from the blame. However, the monarch, who had listened to the entire story, did not speak. He lowered his head and remained silent. Boom! Suddenly, two terrifying auras descended above the city in the sky. They were a man and a woman. The woman looked to be in her 30s. She was wearing a snow-white dress, and her black hair was tied up high. She had a noble aura, and there was a god clan mark between her eyebrows. The man, on the other hand, was in his 40s. He was wearing a golden robe with a 5-clawed golden dragon engraved on it. Although there was no God clan mark between his eyebrows, one could see an awe-inspiring emperor aura behind him. Just as the man and woman descended, the monarch frowned slightly. He obviously knew the two of them. The man and woman glanced at the city in the sky, then took a step forward and landed directly in front of the palace. "Greetings, Divine King." "Greetings, Sovereign." Ryuko and Zhang Yunshuang immediately turned around and bowed respectfully to the two. The two responded faintly and entered the palace. The monarch waved his hand, and 2 chairs appeared on both sides of the palace. To be able to get the monarch to personally give them a seat, it could be seen that the status of these 2 people in the Divine Kingdom was definitely not ordinary. The man and woman did not stand on ceremony and directly sat on the chairs, their faces quite gloomy. "It seems that the 2 of you have already heard about what happened in the Sky Cloud realm." The monarch smiled slightly. "You can still smile? Do you know how serious the matter is?" This time tens of thousands of people went to the Sky Cloud realm. Most of them were the geniuses of our human race, but in the end, not a single one of them came back alive. This is actually not a big deal. Anyway, they all left behind their divine souls. Sooner or later they will be reborn. What I can't accept the most is that these people's cultivation and laws were all taken away by the golden-winged wolf king. Go and see how desperate they are now. There are even many people who can't stand this blow and self-destruct their divine souls, actively seeking death. The middle-aged man in a golden dragon robe said angrily, "The young people of our divine race are the same. Even if they can give up the idea of seeking death under our guidance, it will still leave a shadow in their hearts for a lifetime." The woman in white shook her head and sighed. "I didn't expect it to be so serious." The monarch frowned. "What else do you think? But this matter can't be blamed on Ryuko and Zhang Yunshuang. The responsibility is on you." The middle-aged man looked at the monarch aggressively. "Me?" The monarch was stunned. "Yes. With the strength of our divine kingdom, we can easily take down the Sky Cloud realm. But what about you? You took the initiative and reached a 1,000-year agreement with the Sky Cloud realm. Now it's even more exaggerated. Not only did you extend the agreement to 10,000 years, but you also made a blood oath. I want to ask, Monarch, what are you trying to do? If it weren't for you, would our divine kingdom have suffered such a great loss?" The middle-aged man said angrily, "Sovereign, please calm down. Grandpa had no choice but to make the agreement. Because at that time, if Grandpa didn't make the agreement with Qin Feiyang, the divine dragon sword would have been destroyed in his hands." Ryuko hurriedly looked at the middle-aged man and explained, "Although the divine dragon sword is a high-grade divine weapon, can it be compared with the reputation of the entire divine kingdom? Go out and see how the people of the divine kingdom talk about you behind your back." The middle-aged man looked at Ryuko and said angrily. Ryuko lowered his head. "The human race, the divine race, and the purple gold divine dragon race are the 3 strongest races of the divine kingdom. There are more than a dozen geniuses and tens of thousands of geniuses, but every time they enter the Sky Cloud realm they return in defeat. And each time they are more miserable than the last. Last time you were suppressed in that place and became the laughingstock of everyone. This time tens of thousands of geniuses were turned into cripples. On the other hand, the Sky Cloud realm, from the beginning to the end, how many of them have appeared? Qin Feiyang, Golden Wings, Wolf King, Li Feng, Yun Ziang, Long Qin, Long Chan, Madman Emo, count yourselves. How many are there? Only 7. Just 7 of them defeated so many geniuses of the divine kingdom. Isn't this a great humiliation?" The middle-aged man said with a pained heart. Ryuko and Zhang Yunshuang couldn't help but clench their hands. It was indeed a great humiliation. "I agree with the human race's sovereign. If you didn't make the agreement with Qin Feiyang in private, the divine kingdom wouldn't have fallen to this point." The woman in white nodded. Good. It's all my fault. But it's useless to blame me now. The most important thing now is to find a way to turn the tables." The monarch knew that he was in the wrong, so his tone wasn't too strong. Even if he wasn't in the wrong, he still had to be polite to the 2 in front of him. Because of these 2 people, one was the human race's sovereign, and the other was the divine king of the god race. Although the human race and the god race were inferior to the purple gold divine dragon clan, It wouldn't be good for the purple gold divine dragon clan if they were angered. The human race's sovereign said, I personally think that to solve this matter, we must tear up the agreement and give the Sky Cloud realm a fatal blow. That won't do. I've already made a blood oath. Moreover, if we really tear up the agreement, isn't it indirectly admitting that the younger generation of the Divine Kingdom is inferior to the Sky Cloud realm? At that time, it will undoubtedly be more humiliating. So this kind of thing can't be allowed to happen. The younger generation of the Divine Kingdom can't lose to them. The monarch shook his head. That makes sense. The Divine King nodded. His eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at the monarch and the human race's sovereign and said, How about we ask those few to come out of seclusion? The monarch and the human race's sovereign were a little hesitant when they heard this. I know your concerns. Those few are the strongest of the younger generation of the Divine Kingdom. If even they are defeated by Qin Feiyang and the others, the Divine Kingdom will have no face left. But now, apart from them, I really can't think of anyone else who has the ability to reverse this situation. The Divine King shook his head and sighed. A mere Sky Cloud realm had forced the Divine Kingdom to this point. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang looked at each other. There seemed to be a trace of unwillingness. Ryuko bowed and said, Grandfather, Divine King, Sovereign, there's no need to ask them to come out of seclusion. Please give us another chance. Ryuko's father and the Divine Kingdom's princess were biological siblings. Naturally, the monarch was Ryuko's biological grandfather. You want a chance? The monarch and the other two frowned. We can definitely do it this time. Jiang Yunshuang also spoke. Don't you think it's embarrassing enough now? The human race's sovereign said angrily. We are embarrassed, but it's also because of this that if we don't turn the tables, I'm afraid we won't be satisfied for the rest of our lives. So please grant us our wish. Ryuko clenched his hands, and his eyes were extremely firm. The human race's sovereign raised his eyebrows. Old man, calm down. Young people, failure is not terrible. What's terrible is losing confidence and fighting spirit. Although they have been defeated all these years, judging from their current state, they haven't given up yet. As long as they haven't given up, there's still hope. The monarch looked at the human race's sovereign and comforted him. He looked at Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang and said with a smile, You already know the strength of Qin Feiyang and the others. Since you've asked to fight again, you must have a plan in mind. Let us hear it. If I think it's feasible, I'll consider letting you go. Thank you, grandfather. Thank you, monarch. The two were overjoyed. Chapter 3964. Ryuko pondered for a while, then looked at the three and said, In fact, their strongest means are none other than their battle souls. Battle souls, the human race supreme murmured and nodded. I heard from Wang Feng and the others that their battle souls are very powerful. Not only powerful but also terrifying. Long Chen's God's domain can restrain all laws, including the 3,000 incarnations. The golden-winged Wolf King's battle soul is even more terrifying. It can strip away laws and cultivation. Qin Feiyang's battle soul is the Eye of Heaven. It can even replicate the ultimate profound. As for Madman Mo, although his battle soul is also very strong in comparison, the ultimate power he possesses, the Divine Master frowned slightly, then looked at the monarch and asked, Last time when you fought with the people of the Sky Cloud realm, did you see this power? No. The monarch shook his head, pondered for a while, then said, But according to my speculation, this should be the power of the root of all evil. The root of all evil. The Divine Master and the human race supreme's expression changed. Ji Yunhai fought with the Blood Demon King back then. The Blood Demon King seemed to have the root of all evil. But he didn't succeed in fusing it. Now, as expected, when Madman Mo obtained the inheritance of the Blood Demon King, he also obtained the root of all evil and successfully fused it. The monarch speculated. To be able to fuse with the root of all evil, he really is the natural enemy of the God race. The Divine Master's eyes flashed with killing intent. The monarch looked at the Divine Master and smiled. The power of the root of all evil, in the entire God race, you should be the only one who can contend against it. But because of your agreement I can't do anything, right? The Divine Master said. The monarch smiled embarrassedly and looked at Long Zi. Continue. Ryuko's eyes flashed and said, their strongest means are their battle souls, so to deal with them we have to start with their battle souls. Start with their battle souls? The monarch was stunned. That's right. Ryuko nodded and sneered. If the plan in my heart succeeds, not only can we defeat them, but also the strength of the divine kingdom will instantly increase by a large margin. Tell me the details. The three overlords immediately became very interested. The Sky Cloud Realm. I'll go. After talking with Madman, the white-eyed wolf was ready to leave. Don't go. The white-eyed wolf. What? The white-eyed wolf, God's heavenly cloud god, right? The monarch. I know the white-eyed wolf. Of the time. After coming out of seclusion, he saw the Heaven Cloud divine treasure on Heaven Cloud Island and asked the four guardian beasts about the situation there. Longchen smiled. The four guardian beasts' meaning is that we can't let the divine nation's people cause trouble, so you have to help guard this place. How long? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. The monarch pondered for a while and laughed. The trial of the heavenly cloud god's treasure will probably end in half a year, so, goodbye. Before the monarch could finish, the white-eyed wolf cupped his hands and activated the momentary time, fleeing without looking back. Half a year. Or just an estimate. What a joke. If he had the time he could go out and play. Wouldn't it be better? Longchan stared at the back of the white-eyed wolf in a daze. He really had the urge to curse. Why were they all like this? Couldn't they have a little sense of responsibility? Sigh. He sighed helplessly and could only stay and stare at the gate of the divine kingdom. Boom! About half an hour passed. A terrifying aura suddenly surged out from the gate of the divine kingdom. Longchan sat cross-legged in the void. Sensing these auras, he raised his eyebrows and immediately opened his eyes, looking up at the gate of the divine kingdom. Soon, a man and a woman walked out from the gate of the divine kingdom. The two were Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang. And behind them there were more people walking out. These people looked very young, and their cultivation was at the sovereign realm. There were men and women, fat and thin. They were all unfamiliar faces. There's really no end to it. Longchan slowly got up, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Were they really forcing him to follow Qin Feiyang and the others into the divine kingdom? This is the heavenly cloud realm? What a weak essence. A place like this can give birth to a monster like Longchan? It's really puzzling. From the discussion, except for Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang, it was the first time for the others to come to the heavenly cloud realm. About 100 breaths passed. Finally, no one walked out of the gate of the divine kingdom. At this time there were more than 100,000 people gathered in the sky. That's right. More than 100,000 people, more than before. There were humans and gods, and the aura that they exuded was unfathomable. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying divine power, like a volcanic eruption, roared out. Hundreds of thousands of people immediately looked down, and when they saw Longchan, they were immediately stunned. Longchan, don't be impulsive. This time we're not here to fight with you. Ryuko looked at Longchan and said. He's Longchan? The Longchan who has the god's domain. Hundreds of thousands of people looked at Longchan curiously. To dare to guard here alone, this person was indeed courageous. Moreover, facing so many people he could actually keep a straight face. Longchan was stunned, and his aura was slightly restrained. He asked, then what are you here for? The two had just escaped back to the divine kingdom not long ago, and they came here with hundreds of thousands of people. Anyone would definitely think that they were here for revenge, but the result was greatly unexpected. Moreover, looking at the expressions of Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang, they didn't seem as indifferent as before. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang looked at each other, took a step forward, and landed in front of Longchan. I'm deeply sorry for the trouble I've caused you during this time. Ryuko cupped his hands and apologized. Longchan was stunned. He actually apologized. Did the sun rise from the west? It was really strange. There's a good saying, no discord, no concord. This time we came with sincerity, hoping to turn hostility into friendship with Brother Long and several others, such as Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, and Golden Wing Wolf King. Jiang Yunshuang also said with a smile. Longchan was really not used to this attitude. He said suspiciously, are you kidding me? Do we look like we're kidding? We're really here to apologize. And I promise that in the next 10,000 years, my divine kingdom will not indiscriminately kill an innocent creature in the sky cloud realm. Ryuko said. Longchan looked at the two of them. Whether it was their attitude or their tone, they were quite sincere. However, he really couldn't believe that the two of them were here to make peace. Because Ryuko had been suppressed by Qin Feiyang, and it was in a place like the Soul-Sealing Valley. And Zhang Yunshuang had also been deprived of his laws and cultivation by the white-eyed wolf twice. How could such a deep hatred be resolved just like that? Could be said that, being suppressed in a place like the Soul-Sealing Valley, even with Longchen's character, he would definitely fight to the death with Qin Feiyang. Let alone a proud person like Ryuko. So he couldn't be careless. There must be a problem here. Then what are you planning to do in the Sky Cloud realm this time? If it's just to apologize, there's no need to bring so many people. Longchan glanced at the hundreds of thousands of people with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Not only was the number huge, but each of them had extraordinary strength. If they were here to denounce him, he would definitely believe it. But to apologize, forget it. This time, of course, we came to the Sky Cloud realm to ask for a favor. Ryuko said. Ask for a favor? Longchan was taken aback. This was getting more and more outrageous. The Divine Kingdom would ask for a favor from the Sky Cloud realm? Yes. For after these few battles, we also have a deep understanding of the strength of the Sky Cloud realm. There are some places in the Divine Kingdom that can't be compared to the Sky Cloud realm. So, we plan to jointly organize a friendly match with the Sky Cloud realm. Ryuko smiled slightly. Friendly match? Longchan was stunned. Yes. Don't think too much. Since it's a friendly match, it will definitely be a friendly match and won't hurt everyone's harmony. We have seriously thought about it. This friendly match is a good thing for both the Sky Cloud realm and the Divine Kingdom. Because while everyone is learning from each other, they can communicate with each other and improve each other. Ryuko smiled. How smart was Longchen's mind? But at this moment, he was confused by the actions of the Divine Kingdom. What was the Divine Kingdom trying to do? Ryuko continued, and for this friendly match, the Divine Kingdom will also come up with generous rewards to make everyone more motivated. What rewards? Longchan was suspicious. Ryuko smiled and said, 1,000 ordinary law miniatures and 100 ultimate law miniatures. Longchan was shocked when he heard this. This was really a big deal. Don't worry, it's not over yet. The Dragon Son waved his hand and continued, apart from that, there are also the inheritances of 10 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws, as well as 5 ultimate profundities of supreme laws. What? This time, even Longchan couldn't stay calm. Inheritance of 10 ordinary ultimate laws. 5 ultimate profundities of supreme laws. Was the Divine Kingdom crazy? For a friendly match, they actually paid such a big price? Something was wrong. There was definitely a conspiracy here. I think Brother Long must be thinking that the Divine Kingdom is conspiring. Naturally, we do have a little selfish motives. Ryuko sighed. Zhang Yunshuang frowned when he heard this and transmitted his voice. Don't talk nonsense. Don't worry. We definitely won't tell him about our plan. But we have to admit that we are selfish. Otherwise, they will always be on guard against us. Ryuko smiled secretly. As long as you know your limits. Zhang Yunshuang snorted coldly. What selfish motives? This time, Longchen asked. For the battle 10,000 years later. I believe you also know about the agreement between Qin Feiyang and the Lord. 10,000 years later, our Divine Kingdom and the Sky Cloud realm will inevitably have a battle. As the saying goes, only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. So my selfish motive is to use this friendly match to have a comprehensive understanding of the overall strength of the Sky Cloud realm, and prepare for the battle 10,000 years later. Ryuko said. This reason, Longchen frowned. This reason was indeed reasonable. But he had an intuition that Ryuko's intention wasn't so simple. Chapter 3965. Ryuko said with a smile, of course, the Tianyun realm can also take this opportunity to observe the background of our Divine Kingdom. Observe the background of your Divine Kingdom? Longchen couldn't help but laugh. This kind of thing was simply impossible. Because the background of the divine kingdom was too deep. For example, the hundreds of thousands of people in front of them might only be the tip of the iceberg of the divine kingdom. Taking a step back, even if they figured out the strength of the younger generation, how would it help them? Nothing. Because the divine kingdom was different from the Tianyun realm. For the Tianyun realm, the older generation of the divine kingdom was the biggest threat. So, if they wanted to truly understand the background of the divine kingdom, they had to enter the divine kingdom. Brother Long, I have explained the situation. What do you think? Ryuko looked at Longchan expectantly. Longchan pondered for a moment and asked, in other words, these rewards are prepared for all the participants? Yes. Whether it is the people of the divine kingdom or the Tianyun realm, as long as they can get into the top 100, they will get the corresponding rewards. Ryuko nodded. Then what are the rules of the competition? Longchan was suspicious. Since it is a jointly organized friendly competition, the rules are of course decided by both sides. You see, if you agree, then let's find a place to sit down and have a good discussion, Ryuko said. The more Longchan listened, the more incredulous he felt. The friendly competition was proposed by the divine kingdom, and the rewards were also provided by the divine kingdom. According to common sense, even if the divine kingdom directly set the rules, they couldn't say much. But now, they actually still had the attitude of negotiation. The modesty shown by the divine kingdom was too unreal. Longchan thought for a moment, looked at Ryuko and Zhang Yunshuang, and said with a smile, I can't make the decision on my own. I have to discuss with others. This is necessary. After all, we have to respect everyone's decision, especially Qin Feiyang, Golden Wing Wolf King, and Madman Mo. If possible, invite them to come together and discuss the details of the competition with us. Ryuko said. Okay. Longchan nodded and said with an apologetic smile, then I'll have to trouble you to stay in the land of the buried gods for a while. Or you can go back first and come back later. You're asking us to leave? I still subtasss realm. You came all the way here, but you want to chase us away without even seeing the scenery of the heaven cloud world? That's not the way to treat guests. Immediately someone says this. Be quiet. Longzi shouted coldly, and the entire place immediately quieted down. And then, Longzi looked at him in confusion. Brother Long, why don't you let us enter the heaven cloud world? It's not a big deal. Anyway, you can't enter the sky cloud realm for the time being. After a while I won't stop you. Longchan smiled apologetically. All right. Ryuko nodded, turned to look at the hundreds of thousands of people, and said, I'll let Zhang Yunshuang set up a time array. Everyone will rest here first. Remember, without permission, no one is allowed to leave the land of the buried gods without permission. Violators will be killed without mercy. Yes. The group of people respectfully replied. Longchan looked deeply at Ryuko and said with a smile, then you guys go ahead. All right. Ryuko nodded. Longchan nodded and smiled at Zhang Yunshuang, then turned and left. Are we really going to wait here? Zhang Yunshuang looked at Longchen's back and frowned slightly. Don't act recklessly at this time, otherwise, there will definitely be trouble. Ryuko shook his head. I hope the plan will succeed. Zhang Yunshuang sighed secretly. If the plan really succeeds, won't you be the biggest beneficiary? Ryuko transmitted his voice and looked at Zhang Yunshuang with a smile that was not a smile. Zhang Yunshuang's eyes flashed and said with a smile, if you can really fulfill my wish, I will definitely thank you in the future. I will always remember these words in my heart. Ryuko chuckled and soared into the air. With a wave of his hand, a spirit vein and crystal vein appeared and merged with the earth below. Zhang Yunshuang also waved his hand, accompanied by the emergence of the time array. A huge time array appeared and merged with the earth below. Immediately after, Ryuko waved his hand again. On the earth, mud and gravel were tossed and turned, and mountains thousands of feet high rose from the ground one by one. What is this? Longchan did not leave. Standing on a distant hill, he looked at this scene from afar. Not only did he bury the spirit vein and crystal vein, but he also created so many mountains. Was he going to treat the core area as their divine kingdom's base in the Skycloud realm? In other words, to stay here for a long time? What was he planning? At this time, Long Chun certainly did not dare to leave and must keep an eye on these people. What if they sneaked out of the land of the buried gods and ran to Sky Cloud Island to cause trouble? After pondering for a while, he asked the heavenly god sword to convey the situation here to the castle. When the castle told Madman about this matter, Madman was also shocked and immediately contacted Qin Feiyang. Southern continent. Deep in a mountain, a waterfall poured down from the mountain and merged into a river. The quiet atmosphere, the clear river, and the green mountains made this place like a paradise. In front of the waterfall, a young man was sitting on a blue stone, quietly watching the waterfall motionless. At first glance, one would think that he was a human-shaped sculpture. This person was Qin Feiyang. He had been standing here for 2 days. Of course, he was definitely not in a daze. He was borrowing the power of nature to feel the aura of life everywhere. Flowers were life, trees were also life. Even water had its own life. However, whether it was flowers, trees, or flowing water, there would be a day when they would wither and evaporate. However, even if they withered and evaporated, it did not mean that they would really disappear from this world. When flowers and trees wither, new buds will sprout in the next year, growing new branches and leaves, blooming even more brilliant flowers. The flowing water evaporated and turned into raindrops, moistening the earth again. Everything in the world had always been in a cycle. Death, rebirth. Rebirth, death. This was the mystery of life and death. Regarding this point, when he entered the Sky Bell Divine Treasure and comprehended the law of life and death, Qin Feiyang had already figured it out thoroughly. And now, he wanted to see something deeper. However, in these 10 years he did not see it. However, he did not struggle because of this, nor did he force it. After all these years of settling down, his heart seemed to have reached a state where it had no desires. In short, right now, he just had an attitude of letting nature take its course. Old Qin, I didn't want to disturb you, but now there is one thing that you have to help me think about. We can't make up our minds. Suddenly, Frenzy's voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. What is it? Qin Feiyang finally took a step forward and walked along the river. There was no destination and there was no need for a destination. He would go wherever he wanted. Frenzy told him about the friendly match in detail. Is that all? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. What the hell? That's all? Did you hear it clearly? The Divine Kingdom took out a total of 1100 law miniatures and 15 ultimate profound meanings as a reward. Is this in line with the character of the Divine Kingdom? Frenzy said angrily. Doesn't. They must have an ulterior motive. But so what? Didn't you always say that we will deal with whatever comes our way? Qin Feiyang laughed. Even so, we are facing the Divine Kingdom after all. Frenzy frowned. If it was the Divine Kingdom, you wouldn't have this confidence? Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Don't provoke me, I won't fall for it. Frenzy snorted and pondered for a moment before saying, Get me out of here first. As soon as his voice fell, he felt his body become light, and the next moment, he appeared beside Qin Feiyang. Where is this place? Frenzy looked around. I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head. You don't know where you came from? I think you are sleepwalking. Fine. I won't bother you. Since you don't want to ask about this matter, I will go find the white-eyed wolf in Long Chun. We will decide for ourselves. Frenzy opened a space-time tunnel and was about to walk in when he suddenly slapped his head and said, Get Yun Ziang out too. He has already come out of seclusion. He can't keep hiding in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. With a thought, Yun Ziang immediately appeared beside him. What's going on? Yun Ziang was still holding a bowl in one hand and a pair of chopsticks in the other. There was also a small bowl of food in the bowl. He looked at Qin Feiyang and Frenzy in shock. What are you doing? Frenzy's mouth twitched. Nonsense. Don't you have eyes? Aren't we eating? Yun Ziang was speechless and continued to eat. Are you a hungry ghost? Frenzy rolled his eyes. This is the food that Father personally cooked for me. The taste of home, Father's love, do you understand? Yun Ziang smiled proudly. Ever since he came out of seclusion and learned that the princess of the Divine Kingdom was in the Great Qin and her life was not in danger, he entered the middle state without worry and reunited with his family. Yes. Come with me, let's do business. Frenzy nodded impatiently and dragged Yun Xiang toward the space-time tunnel. Qin Feiyong looked at this scene and could not help but shake his head with a smile. He also turned and continued to walk toward the end of the river. But after a few steps, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at the dissipating space-time tunnel. The taste of home, this sentence had nothing to do with the law of death, but it stimulated a memory that had been sealed in his mind for a long time. He slowly lowered his head. Pieces of memories kept appearing in his mind. These memories were what happened after he entered the Heaven Bell Divine Treasure and fell into the illusion. Time silently passed. He stood on the surface of the river motionless. His expression was sometimes confused and sometimes enlightened. It was as if he was in a state of half-understanding. The sun set in the west and dusk gradually arrived. Only at this moment did Qin Feiyong raise his head and look at the setting sun on the horizon. A trace of a smile gradually crept onto his face as he muttered, "So, this is the profundity of facing death and fighting to survive." Then, he retracted his gaze, turned around, and gradually disappeared at the end of the river. Chapter 3966. Due to the appearance of the Divine Kingdom, the progress of the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure was also speeding up. This time, there were 100,000 creatures gathered here. They were the first to arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island. Although the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure had 10 levels and each level had a large space, it was impossible for all the creatures of the Heavenly Cloud Realm to enter. So, the first test was to cross the Heavenly Cloud Sea and arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island. The Heavenly Cloud Sea couldn't activate the teleportation altar. And for fairness, the Heavenly Cloud Sea couldn't activate the teleportation artifact or the teleportation channel. It found they would be disqualified on the spot. In short, once everyone entered the Heavenly Cloud Sea, they could only experience many dangers and cross the sea to arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island. The first 100,000 people to arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island would be qualified to enter the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure. Someone must have said, "Wouldn't the test in the Heavenly Cloud Sea be unfair to creatures with different cultivation levels? For example, the Paragon God Realm, the Ninth Heaven Realm, and the Imperishable Realm. Whether it was speed or strength, they couldn't compare to the Sovereign Realm powerhouses." In fact, this point, the 4 guardian beasts had already thought of it. Now, all the sea beasts in the Heavenly Cloud Sea, except for the beast emperors, would cooperate with the 4 guardian beasts. They would send powerful sea beasts to stop the creatures with strong cultivation levels. As for the weaker creatures, they would send weaker sea beasts to stop them. In other words, although they were all taking the test, the degree of danger was different. The stronger the cultivation level, the greater the danger they faced. Of course, the premise was that they couldn't really hurt the sea beasts of the Heavenly Cloud Sea. You had to have the ability to repel the sea beasts and shatter their bodies, but you absolutely couldn't destroy their souls. This was the limit of Little Rabbit. If anyone dared to kill the sea beasts, then don't blame him for being impolite. Originally, we planned to use 3 years for this trial. But now, there are more than 100,000 people from the Divine Kingdom who came to our Heavenly Cloud Realm, so the trial time was shortened to half a year. The 4 guardian beasts looked at the 100,000 creatures in front of them and said, "More than 100,000 people?" Everyone was surprised. They were training in the Heavenly Cloud Sea, so they didn't know the situation in the land of buried gods. That's right. It's not easy for you to get this opportunity to train, because it was Long Chan Long Chin and the golden-winged wolf king who risked their lives to stop the Divine Kingdom's army. You have to cherish it. With that, the Azure Dragon waved his hand, and numerous badges appeared before flying toward the 100,000 living beings. These 100,000 living beings. There were humans, Feng people, Kirans, dragons, ferocious beasts, sea beasts, and so on. Almost all of the secluded old antiques of the various races had arrived. As for Elder Hua, the alliance leader, and He Zhongtian, there was no need for them to join in the fun. This was because they had already obtained the law miniatures they needed from Qin Feiyong. However, there were also many disciples and elders from the Heavenly Hall, Demon Hall, Deity's Hall, and Rogue Cultivator Alliance. This is the Heavenly Cloud Token. If you encounter any danger, crush the Heaven Cloud Token, and you will be able to leave the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury immediately. One last reminder. Don't try to show off. Because in the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, there are no restrictions on killing. Your companions may become your enemy. The Azure Dragon swept his gaze across the crowd, and with a wave of his hand, the 10 stone doors of the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury opened one after another. Life and death are ruled by fate. Go. The White Tiger said coldly. The 100,000 living beings immediately rushed toward the stone doors. The secluded old antiques of the various races all entered the 10th floor. The patriarchs and elders of the various races entered the 9th floor. I hope there won't be too many casualties. When the stone doors closed, the Azure Dragon sighed. If you don't try to show off, there won't be any casualties. But if you try to show off, then even if you die, you deserve to die. The White Tiger smiled coldly. I wonder what's the situation in the land of the buried gods now? The Black Tortoise and Vermilion Bird raised their heads and looked in the direction of the land of the buried gods, their eyes filled with worry. Land of the buried gods. On a hill. Frenzy and Yun Xiang appeared silently. They're here. Long Chan smiled and nodded at Yun Xiang. Frenzy and Vermilion Bird nodded and walked up the hill, looking at the group of people from the Divine Kingdom. Looking at the scene in front of them, the two were stunned. Giant peaks rose and fell, and the mountains were filled with dense essence energy. Although there were no flowers or trees yet, with the density of essence energy, in less than half a year, this place would definitely become a paradise full of vitality. What are they doing? Frenzy came back to his senses and looked at Long Chan suspiciously. Long Chan shook his head and smiled. They probably want to use this place as their base camp. What? Frenzy raised his eyebrows. Was this openly occupying the territory of the Sky Cloud realm? You're not going to stop them? Yun Xiang was suspicious. How can I stop them alone? Besides, you can't slap a smiling face. Their current attitude really makes it impossible for me to do anything. Long Chan smiled bitterly and then asked, Where's Qin Feiyang? Don't worry about him. He's touring the southern continent and doesn't care about what's going on here. But he also said that the Divine Kingdom might have some ulterior motives, so we have to be careful. Frenzy said. Touring the southern continent? Long Chan was stunned and then asked helplessly, What about the Golden-Winged Wolf King? He's not coming? Frenzy said. I sent him a message and he's now at the Azure Wave Snow Mountain. He told us to do as we see fit and call him if we need him. Sigh. Long Chan sighed again. It was understandable that Qin Feiyang didn't come. After all, he was comprehending the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death. But this wolf cub didn't come. He was just being lazy. Frenzy looked at Ryuko and the others and frowned. Now that they are guarding here, it will be difficult for us to enter the Divine Kingdom. Not necessarily. After all, Qin Feiyang has the concealment art. Yun Xiang shook his head. With the concealment art, it will be difficult to sneak in without being noticed. Look at the gate of the Divine Kingdom. It obviously has its own consciousness. Even if we are invisible, we will definitely be discovered by it. Long Chan said. Then let's just kill our way in. Frenzy laughed. Long Chan and Yun Xiang heard this and couldn't help but roll their eyes. Suddenly, Yun Xiang seemed to have thought of something and turned to Long Chan and said gratefully, Thank you. Long Chan was stunned and asked in confusion, Thank me for what? Thank you for leaving Master in the Great Qin. This way I'll have less to worry about. Yun Xiang sighed. So it's about this. It's nothing. Long Chan smiled faintly and looked at the two of them. Then do you think this friendly match should be carried out? Yes, definitely. Frenzy nodded without hesitation. Even if the Divine Kingdom had a conspiracy, how could they refuse such a good thing? I have an opposing opinion. Yun Xiang pondered for a moment and looked at Frenzy. Why? Frenzy was puzzled. The rewards offered by the Divine Kingdom are indeed very tempting. However, the strength of the Divine Kingdom is also stronger than our Sky Cloud realm. In the end, these rewards may all fall into their hands. If they really are plotting something, wouldn't it be a loss if we didn't get the reward and let their scheme succeed? Yun Xiang explained, worried. Yun Xiang's point can't be ignored. If our Sky Cloud realm can get the rewards, even if their conspiracy succeeds and we lose, it won't be much. Long Chan nodded. Yes, I'm just afraid that in the end, We will lose both our people and our wealth. Yunxiang looked at Frenzy and sighed. Frenzy laughed and said proudly, with us here, are you afraid that we won't get the rewards? If we take action, the people of the Divine Kingdom will definitely not be able to stop us. But they might not have thought of this. When the rules of the friendly competition are set as expected, we will be restricted from participating. Look at our Sky Cloud realm. It's not that I look down on the Sky Cloud realm, but in the current Sky Cloud realm besides us, who else can compete with the younger generation of the Divine Kingdom? Long Chun shook his head. After the invasion of the Divine Kingdom last time, the overall strength of the Sky Cloud realm was now in a state of shortage. The older generation was too strong. The people of the younger generation were too weak. Not to mention the human race, because the human race was even weaker. Let's talk about the Feng people, dragons and Kirans. Among the young people of the three races, the dragons and the first prince were the strongest. But they didn't even comprehend the ultimate meaning of an ordinary law. In fact, he hadn't even managed to comprehend all of the profound meanings. With such strength, how could they compete with the young people of the Divine Kingdom? Therefore, if they didn't participate in this friendly competition, the Sky Cloud realm would definitely lose. Frenzy scratched his head when he heard that. This was indeed a problem. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he looked at the two and said with a sinister smile, don't we still have people on our side who haven't revealed their true strength? You mean the Master Jura, Qi Xiaoyan and Huowu? Long Chen asked. Huowu can't. Last time at the Devil Palace, she displayed the intermediate meaning of the law of karma. But the Master Jura and Qi Xiaoyan haven't made a move yet. The people of the Divine Kingdom don't know their true strength at all, so when the time comes to restrict the participants, they definitely won't be included. Frenzy laughed sinisterly. Do you think others are stupid? When the time comes, they only need to say that those who have grasped the ultimate meaning of the law are not allowed to participate. Then Qi Xiaoyun and senior brother will be in vain. Yun Xiang rolled his eyes at Frenzy. What a naive idea. Are you stupid? As long as Qi Xiaoyun and the Master Jura don't use the ultimate meaning of the law, everything will be fine. Frenzy said. No. Last time, senior brother went everywhere with you to impart knowledge. The people of the Divine Kingdom will be able to easily find out. As for Qi Xiaoyun, you also know that the Qilin race isn't united. What if a selfish person like Qi Xiong appears and leaks the information? At that time, we will be shooting ourselves in the foot. This problem needs to be solved from the root. In other words, we have to participate in the competition personally to have a chance of obtaining the rewards. Yun Xiang said. He had considered all aspects. Chapter 3967. Madman pondered for a while, looked at the two and asked, then why don't we discuss it with them first and see what their attitude is? All right. But there's no rush. We'll discuss it after the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure trial is over. Long Chun thought for a while and said, there's one more thing. The God race of the Divine Kingdom and the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race are easy to distinguish, but the humans of the Divine Kingdom are no different from the humans of the Heavenly Cloud realm. If they mix in the crowd, we won't know that they are from the Divine Kingdom. We have to think of a way to distinguish them, so that they won't be able to fool us in the Heavenly Cloud realm in the future. Yun Xiang said. Long Chun and Madman looked at each other and shook their heads. To be honest, there's really no way to solve this problem of yours, because humans are all the same even if they wear different clothes. As long as the other party also wears the same clothes, can you tell them apart? Of course. They can also make some special marks. But after the other party sees it, they can also make the same mark on their body. Unless they think of something like a mark that the Divine Kingdom doesn't have. Wait. Suddenly, Long Chen's eyes lit up as he looked at Madman and said, you can? Me? Madman was taken aback. Yes, you have the source of all evil. So you should be able to leave a mark on all the creatures of the Heavenly Cloud realm. This way, won't it be easy to distinguish them? Long Chen laughed. It won't work. If I really leave a mark of the source of all evil on everyone, then they can only rely on absorbing the power of evil to cultivate in the future. It's okay for the creatures of the ruler realm, after all, they rely on comprehending the profound meaning of the laws, so it won't affect them much. But for creatures below the ruler realm, they must have the power of evil. Madman shook his head. Long Chun thought for a while and said, "Then why don't you leave a trace of the power of all evil in everyone's body, so that it can be easily distinguished? There are so many creatures in the heavenly cloud realm. If I leave a trace of the power of all evil in each of them, how much power of all evil would that require? I'm afraid that even if I were to absorb all of the heavenly cloud realm's evil power, I still wouldn't be able to do it." Madman rolled his eyes. Long Chun also fell silent. Actually, there's no need to think about it. The people of the divine kingdom have always boasted of being extraordinary. How could they pretend to be people of the sky cloud realm? Madman shook his head. "Better safe than sorry," Yun Xiang said worriedly. Madman said, "If you're really worried, then we can only seal the 2 entrances to the land of buried gods and not let them enter the sky cloud realm. This is not a long-term solution. Once the friendly match starts, both sides will definitely cross paths. Sealing the entrance might not be foolproof. Forget it. Just pretend I didn't mention it." Yun Xiang waved his hand. This was indeed a very difficult task. Even if it could be done, it would consume a lot of manpower, resources, and time. Furthermore, Madman's words did make sense. The people of the divine kingdom had always been high and mighty. The possibility of them pretending to be people of the sky cloud realm was extremely low. Suddenly, Madman grinned and looked at the 2 of them. "Actually, there's another way." "What way?" The 2 of them were suspicious. "Kill our way to the divine kingdom. This way we don't have to worry at all. Instead, the divine kingdom has to worry about whether we will pretend to be people of the divine kingdom and cause trouble in the divine kingdom." Madman laughed. Long Chun smiled helplessly. After all this time, he still wanted to encourage him to enter the divine kingdom. Half a year later, the trial of the sky cloud realm had ended. The creatures that reached the end had undoubtedly obtained a lot of good fortune. In fact, there was another benefit to this kind of trial. That was to unearth talents. Some creatures were very talented but had no resources, so their performance was mediocre. And this trial was watched by the 4 guardian beasts. Even in the sky cloud realm, they could clearly see the situation of everyone, so it was easy to find talents. Once they found a talent, they would naturally focus on training them. For example, this time, the 4 guardian beasts found more than a dozen young people who were very rare talents. These young people were only in the imperishable realm. But in the sky cloud realm, the courage, guts, and methods they showed were more powerful than those of the dominator realm creatures. After the event, the 4 guardian beasts also deliberately left more than a dozen people behind. It turned out that these people were ordinary disciples of the Demon Palace, Sky Palace, Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and Divine Palace. After asking around, the 4 guardian beasts personally sent them back and told Elder Hua and the other giants to train them well. Immediately, these dozen or so people were directly promoted to core disciples and enjoyed unprecedented treatment. And if they didn't have the appreciation of the 4 guardian beasts, with their cultivation, who knows how long it would take for them to become core disciples? Could be said that this trial allowed them to directly leap over the dragon gate and soar into the sky. Seeing the benefits of the trial, the others also looked forward to the next opening of the sky cloud realm. But the next time, they had to wait for 100 years. Because the 4 guardian beasts had already set a rule that the sky cloud realm would open once every 100 years. Land of the buried gods. In the past 6 months, the people of the divine kingdom were more honest than expected. No one sneaked out of the land of the buried gods and cultivated in the core area. Half a year passed. This place had also changed greatly, because there was a time array here. And it was a time array that lasted 5,000 years a day. Half a year was 180 days, 5,000 years a day, that was 900,000 years. After 900,000 years, towering trees had already grown here. The originally broken earth had also recovered its vitality. Even the other places in the core area were affected by this place and became full of vitality. Frenzy and the other 2 had always been there. And they also set up a small time array to cultivate and monitor the people of the divine kingdom. After these years of cultivation, Frenzy could feel that the law of life and death was about to break through. On this day, after receiving the news that the trial of the sky cloud realm had ended, the 3 got up and walked out of the time array and flew towards a mountain peak. On this mountain peak there were 2 courtyards. It was the residence of Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang. In the courtyard, 5 people sat around a table. Jiang Yunshuang poured tea and said with a smile, "Why don't I see Qin Feiyang and Golden Wing Wolf King? They won't still be angry with us, right? No need to pour tea for me." Frenzy took out a jar of divine wine, raised his head and drank a mouthful and said, "Don't worry about old Qin and the others. Just tell me, how are we going to arrange this friendly competition?" Jiang Yunshuang put down the teapot and said with a smile, "We can't act arbitrarily on this matter. We want to hear your opinions." "Our opinions?" Frenzy glanced at Ryuko, then looked at Jiang Yunshuang and said, "First of all, we definitely can't kill anyone. Of course, if we kill someone, can it still be called a friendly competition?" Jiang Yunshuang chuckled. Frenzy's eyes flashed and he said with a smile, "Secondly, since it's just a friendly competition, can anyone participate?" "Of course. Everyone can participate. Even the people of the older generation can participate." Jiang Yunshuang nodded. Frenzy, Long Chan, and Yun Xiang looked at each other, and a smile flashed in their eyes. But Jiang Yunshuang changed the topic and said with a smile, "This friendly competition can be considered as a benefit for those who are weaker. People like us who have mastered the ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws shouldn't join in the fun." When the 3 heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched slightly. Sure enough, it restricted those who had mastered the ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. Ryuko looked at the change in the expressions of the 3, and there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. He said with a smile, "I believe the 3 of you don't have any objections to this, right?" "Of course not." The 3 shook their heads. How could they say that in this situation? If they really dared to say it, the other party would definitely despise them in their hearts. Ryuko laughed and said, "The 3 of you are indeed people who love the people like their children. I admire you." Love the people like their children? These words are too serious. We are not the emperor and they are not the people. Everyone is equal. Long Chun waved his hand. Ryuko was taken aback and quickly smiled apologetically. "I was rude." Long Chun smiled and said, "Did you see that? With this attitude, what can we say?" Frenzy and Yun Xiang looked at Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang. It was indeed a 180-degree change. Then there was more likely to be a conspiracy. Jiang Yunshuang held a teacup, looked at Frenzy and the other 2, took a sip of tea and said with a smile, "Since there are no objections, then this rule is set. Okay, let's continue to discuss other matters." Frenzy nodded. 3 days later, the news about the friendly competition between the Divine Kingdom and the Sky Cloud Realm spread in the Sky Cloud Realm. What's the situation? The Divine Kingdom and our Sky Cloud Realm are like fire and water. Why are they jointly holding a friendly competition now? What are the big shots above thinking? As soon as this news came out, countless people were shocked. Especially when they learned about the rewards of this friendly competition. It directly made the beings of the Sky Cloud Realm fall into a frenzy. 1,000 ordinary law miniatures and 100 ultimate law miniatures. 10 ordinary law ultimate profundity inheritances, and 5 ultimate law ultimate profundity inheritances. Everyone was no stranger to the law miniatures, but it was the first time they heard about the ultimate profundity inheritances. If there was a chance to obtain an ultimate profundity inheritance, wouldn't they instantly soar to the sky? Can everyone participate? Yes. Except for the beings who master the ultimate profundity of the ultimate law, everyone can participate. In other words, everyone has a chance to obtain these rewards. I want to participate. Don't stop me. Not to mention the ultimate profundity inheritances, even obtaining an ordinary law miniatures is a great fortune. No one will stop you, but with your imperishable realm cultivation, it's useless to run. Exactly. Not to mention imperishable realm cultivation, even Dominator realm powerhouses can't fight back against the younger generation of the Divine Kingdom. I heard that there are more than 100,000 people from the Divine Kingdom participating in this competition. And there are some among them who master the ultimate profundity of ordinary laws. Then let's go and try our luck. Anyway, the rules of the competition state that we can't kill each other. That makes sense. Let's go, I'll go with you. I'll go too. This was heartening news. Countless beings went crazy for it. Even those below the imperishable realm were heading for the land of buried gods, hoping for a fluke. Because the location of the friendly competition was in the central region of the land of buried gods. On the day the news came out, a large number of beings rushed into the land of buried gods. There were humans, ferocious beasts. Even the people of the three major races couldn't stay calm, because these rewards were more tempting than the treasures of the sky cloud realm. Chapter 3968. Western Continent. In a remote mountain village. There were dozens of families living here, with a total of more than 200 people. In a place like the Sky Cloud Realm, no one would pay attention to such a small mountain village. At this moment, outside the village, a young man dressed in sackcloth stood, quietly dancing with the sun on the horizon. His appearance was extremely ordinary, and his aura was very weak. Not far from the exit, there were more than a dozen teenagers playing. From time to time, they would glance at the young man with a trace of doubt on their childish faces. "Big brother, why are you standing here in a daze?" An 11 or 12-year-old girl summoned her courage, ran to the young man's side, and asked curiously. The young man retracted his gaze, and a smile appeared on his calm face. He looked down at the girl and said, "I'm not in a daze, I'm under the sunset." "You can see the sunset every day, what's there to see?" The girl pursed her lips and giggled. "Big brother, I know you must be missing your family." The young man was stunned. The other teenagers also ran over and surrounded the young man. "Big brother, you've been in our village for 2 months. We still don't know where you're from. And your name, I've never heard you mention it. Big brother, who are you?" They all looked at the young man innocently. "It's me." The young man chuckled, looked at the group of teenagers and said, "My name is Qin Feiyang, do you believe it?" "You? You're Qin Feiyang. Impossible. Don't think that you can fool us just because we're children. Senior Qin, although we haven't seen him with our own eyes, we've heard of him. And some time ago I saw his portrait. You don't look like him at all." The group of children immediately began to chatter. And when they talked about Qin Feiyang, they were all beaming, and their big eyes were full of admiration. "Big brother, it's not good for you to pretend to be Senior Qin. You have to be honest, you know." The girl also put her hands on her waist and lectured the young man like an adult. "Senior?" The young man was stunned and touched his nose. He had become a senior in the eyes of these children? That's right. This young man was Qin Feiyang. However, before coming to this village, he had already changed his appearance. "Did you hear that?" Seeing that Qin Feiyang did not reply, the young girl reprimanded. I heard you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have impersonated Senior Qin Feiyang." Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile and rubbed the girl's head. "What a cute child." "That's right." The girl nodded in satisfaction and asked, "Then what is your name?" "Gufeng." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Gufeng?" The girl was slightly stunned. She lowered her head and pondered for a moment. Then she shook her head and said, "It doesn't seem to be the name of a big shot. It seems that you didn't impersonate him this time." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. "This little girl is too realistic." A 7 or 8-year-old child asked, "Big brother Gufeng, where's your home?" My home is in a place very, very far away." Qin Feiyang smiled. "How far?" The child was curious. "Very far." Qin Feiyang smiled. "All right, don't ask anymore. Big brother Gufeng will definitely feel uncomfortable later." The young girl reprimanded the group of teenagers. "Uncomfortable?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why would I feel uncomfortable? My father said it before. Generally speaking, when people say that it's very, very far away, it means that their family members have passed away and they don't have a home." The young girl looked at Qin Feiyang seriously and said, "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang laughed involuntarily. "Big brother Gufeng, don't be sad. Anyway, you have come to our village and Grandpa Village Chief has allowed you to stay. You can stay here peacefully. In the future, we will be your family." The young girl giggled. "Okay, thank you." Qin Feiyang was touched. At this time, Qin Feiyang seemed to have sensed something. He raised his head and looked at the void in front of him. He saw a black figure breaking through the air like lightning and landing at the entrance of the village. It was a young man in his 20s. His skin was slightly dark and his muscles were well developed. He was like a wild beast, full of a valiant aura. Big brother De Zhuang. The young girl hurried over, her face full of joy. The other teenagers also swarmed over. The young man scratched the young girl's nose and said with a smile, "Little Jia, are you being naughty again?" "No. I just chatted with big brother Gufeng for a while." The young girl shook her head. "Gufeng?" The young man was stunned. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "So your name is Gufeng?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. He had been in this village for 2 months. Although the villagers took him in, they did not communicate much with him. After all, facing a stranger, they would definitely be wary. "My name is Shen De Zhuang. You can call me De Zhuang," the young man said. "I know." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Shen De Zhuang was the grandson of the village chief, and the only person in the village who had broken through to the war god realm. For the villagers, Shen De Zhuang was everyone's hope. Although they did not communicate much in the past, he, who had seen countless people, had long seen that this Shen De Zhuang was honest and loyal. Although his talent was not much, his personality was very simple. Shen De Zhuang asked Gufeng, "You have already been in our village for 2 months. If you don't go back for so long, won't your family be worried?" Hearing this, the young girl hurriedly pulled Shen De Zhuang's hand and said in a low voice, "Big brother De Zhuang, don't say any more." "What's wrong?" Shen De Zhuang was puzzled. "Big brother Gufeng's family has all passed away. We can't let him remember these sad things," the young girl said. "What?" Shen De Zhuang was shocked. He hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang and apologized. "I'm sorry, I didn't know about this." "It's fine." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. This little girl actually took it for real. Forget it. He was too lazy to explain. "De Zhuang, you're back." Suddenly, a hoarse voice sounded in the village. Everyone looked over and saw an old man with white hair walking out with a walking stick. He was skinny and hobbled as if he would fall if the wind blew. This old man was the village chief of the village. His cultivation was not strong. 9-star War Emperor. When Qin Feiyang came to the village and saw the old man for the first time, he had already realized that this person's lifespan was coming to an end. At most, he only had 100 years left. For a 9-star War Emperor, if he could not step into the war god realm, his life would come to an end sooner or later. "Grandfather." Shen De Zhuang hurriedly went up to support the old man. The old man walked in front of Qin Feiyang and said with a hoarse smile, "Little brother, are you used to living here?" "I'm used to it." Qin Feiyang hurriedly nodded. "Don't mind it. After all, you are a stranger. No one dares to communicate with you. But just now, when I was in the house, I saw you talking to these children. I don't think you are a bad person. If you really don't have anywhere to go, why don't you listen to Xiao Jia and stay here?" the old man said. "Thank you, old man." Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully. "You're welcome. Young people nowadays are under a lot of pressure. It's not easy." The old man waved his hand. Seeing that the conversation between the two had ended, Shen De Zhuang hurriedly looked at the old man and said, "Grandfather, I heard good news in the city today." "What good news?" Before the old man could speak, a group of children asked first. "It has nothing to do with you. You can go and play first." Shen De Zhuang waved his hand. "No. We want to listen." The group of teenagers shook their heads. "Be good or brother De Zhuang will be angry." Shen De Zhuang immediately put on a straight face and stared at the group of children. "Even if you are angry, we are not afraid." A 5 or 6-year-old boy with a runny nose mumbled. Shen De Zhuang was stunned. Qin Feiyang could not help but shake his head and laugh. It was hard not to like these children. The old man also shook his head and looked at the girl. "Xiao Jia Jia, bring everyone to play." "Can't I listen too? I am already 12 years old now. I am considered an adult." The girl said. 12 years old is considered an adult? Shen De Zhuang was helpless and urged, "Go quickly. When brother De Zhuang goes to the city again, I will bring you with me." "Really? Don't lie to me." The girl was immediately overjoyed. "I will definitely not lie to you." Shen De Zhuang nodded and promised. "Okay." The girl nodded happily and turned to the group of children, scolding, "The adults are talking. Why are you children joining in the fun? Go quickly." Needless to say, it was really useful. This girl was the king of the children in the village. Shen Dezhuang looked at this scene in astonishment and smiled bitterly. Am I a failure as a person? Even a little girl like her is more intimidating than me? You just found out? The old man shook his head and smiled, asking, what is the good news? Shen Dezhuang looked at Qin Feiyang again. I will leave. Qin Feiyang nodded and turned to leave. No need, no need. This might be good news for you as well. Shen Dezhuang hurriedly said. Qin Feiyang was taken aback and stopped, turning to look at Shen Dezhuang curiously. Shen Dezhuang said, when I went to the city today, I heard that our Tianyun realm and the Divine Kingdom are going to hold a friendly match. Friendly match? The old man was stunned. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a touch of surprise. It started so soon? Then it seems that the trial of the Tianyun realm is already over. I heard that the rewards for this friendly match are very generous. Shen Dezhuang looked at Qin Feiyang and the old man and said excitedly. After hearing this, the old man was also shocked. What law miniature, what ultimate inheritance, it was completely beyond his scope of understanding. Grandpa, I want to participate in the friendly match. Shen Dezhuang suddenly said something that gave Qin Feiyang a big fright. What a joke. With your war god level cultivation, what is the difference between participating in a friendly match and courting death? Dezhuang, are you sick? The old man was stunned for a moment. Then he came back to his senses and touched Shen Dezhuang's forehead with a look of surprise. Grandpa, I am not sick. Shen Dezhuang gently pushed the old man's hand away and sighed. I know that with my strength, I am not even qualified to participate in the friendly match, but I still want to try my luck. Chapter 3969. Dezhuang, can you rely on luck for this kind of thing? Wake up. The last time you went to the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure, I told you not to go, but you didn't believe me. In the end, you almost lost your life. The old man hurriedly persuaded. Dezhuang, you went to the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure? Qin Feiyang looked at Shen Dezhuang in a daze. He came to this village 2 months ago. The trial of the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure had started half a year ago, so Shen Dezhuang had already returned by then. During this time, no one in the village mentioned this matter, so he only knew about it now. Shen Dezhuang glanced at the old man, then looked at Qin Feiyang and nodded. Yes, but the Heavenly Cloud Sea is too dangerous. If the sea beasts hadn't shown mercy, I would have died in the Heavenly Cloud Sea. His expression was full of disappointment. Qin Feiyang frowned. Do you want to get those divine objects so badly? Shen Dezhuang heard this and said angrily, I have no interest in those divine objects. No interest? Qin Feiyang was stunned and puzzled. Since you have no interest, why did you participate in the friendly competition and the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure? Shen Dezhuang lowered his head, looking extremely pained. It's all because of me. The old man patted Shen Dezhuang's shoulder and looked at Qin Feiyang and sighed. Because of you? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. You don't know the situation of Dezhuang's parents, do you? That year, they died in an accident not long after giving birth to Dezhuang. It was I who painstakingly raised Dezhuang. And Dezhuang is a very filial person. Seeing that my time is coming, he is anxious, so all these years, he has been looking for ways to prolong my life. He went to the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury because he wanted to see if he could find any treasures that could extend his lifespan. The old man sighed. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding and asked, then, have you ever taken a life-prolonging pill? I've taken it a long time ago. I can only blame myself for being stupid. After so many years, I've been stuck at the 9-star Battle Emperor realm. I can't even break through to the False God realm. Otherwise, why would I need Dezhuang to run around for me? The old man sighed. Qin Feiyang looked at the old man and Shen Dezhuang. After a long silence, he shook his head and said, even if you participate in the friendly competition, you might not be able to find a way to extend your grandfather's life. We should at least try. Shen Dezhuang said. Even if you die, you won't regret it? Qin Feiyang asked. I've never regretted it. Shen Dezhuang clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with determination. Before facing death, you can say whatever you want. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You don't believe me? Shen Dezhuang frowned. Qin Feiyong looked at Shen Dazhuang for a long time. Then he suddenly waved his hand, and a 30,000-meter-tall tornado appeared above the village. The wind howled and sand and pebbles flew into the air. It gave off a world-destroying aura. This, Shen Dazhuang was shocked. The old man and the group of children not far away also raised their heads and looked at the tornado in horror. He created such a terrifying tornado with a wave of his hand. What kind of method was that? What's going on? What happened? Along with the exclamations, the other people in the village also ran out of their houses. When they saw the tornado in the sky, their faces turned pale with fright. Village chief, where did this tornado come from? A few middle-aged men ran to the old man and asked in shock. The old man did not seem to hear them. He looked at the tornado in the sky for a long time, unable to recover from his shock. Dazhuang, can you feel how terrifying this tornado is? Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Shen Dazhuang quivered. He retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. Qin Feiyong had never fought in the 2 months since he came here. His aura was very weak, so the people in the village thought that he was just an ordinary young man. They did not expect him to have such a terrifying method. The tornado in front of him made him feel like he was facing the god of death. He fell into the abyss of fear and despair. This tornado can kill you in an instant. Now let's see if you dare to face death. Qin Feiyong smiled. Shen Dazhuang's eyes trembled. What's going on? Could it be that he was the one who caused this tornado? The villagers looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. Shen Dazhuang said, he didn't cause it. He created it with a wave of his hand. What? He created such a terrifying tornado with a wave of his hand? Brother, who are you? Everyone was shocked. In front of them, this method was simply heaven-defying. Because their cultivation bases were ordinary battle masters and battle emperors. The group of children were just ordinary people. They did not have any cultivation base at all. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, don't panic everyone. I mean no harm. You created such a terrifying tornado and sent Dazhuang to his death. How can you say that you mean no harm? I've long known that you don't have good intentions. Village chief, hurry up and chase him away. Maybe he came to our village with ulterior motives. The villagers spoke one after another, their eyes filled with anger. The old man finally came back to his senses and looked at Qin Feiyong with a trembling voice. He looked at the villagers and said hoarsely, be quiet. Village chief, his background is unknown. We don't know if he's good or bad. This kind of person can't be left in the village. Hurry up and chase him away. Otherwise, he'll bring us trouble. Angry roars continued. Brother Gufeng is not a bad person. The girl ran over and stood in front of Qin Feiyong and said angrily, Xiaojia, what are you doing? Come here. A middle-aged couple's expression changed on the spot. They hurriedly looked at the little girl and shouted. They were the girl's parents. Father, mother. Brother Gufeng is really not a bad person. And he's very pitiful. We can't bully him like this. The little girl looked at the middle-aged couple pleadingly. Child, why are you so disobedient? The middle-aged woman ran over and pulled the little girl. Then she turned and ran away, staying far away from Qin Feiyong. Mother. Brother Gufeng. The little girl still wanted to say something, but the middle-aged woman directly covered her mouth. Do I look like a bad person? Qin Feiyong couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. He really shouldn't poke his nose into other people's business. Otherwise, why would such a scene happen? The old man glanced at the surrounding villagers and bowed to Qin Feiyong. I'm Shen Mulan. Greetings, Lord. Old man, what are you doing? Qin Feiyong hurriedly helped Shen Mulan up. I'm as blind as a bat. After interacting with you for so long, I didn't know that you're a reclusive big shot. Please be magnanimous and don't bicker with ignorant people like us. The old man was a little panicked. Although the man in front of him looked young, from the aura emitted by the storm, he must have reached the realm of being able to pierce through heaven and earth. This kind of powerhouse was generally a vicious and merciless master. They would not tolerate others behaving atrociously. Therefore, he was worried that everyone's attitude at this moment would anger Qin Feiyong. You're exaggerating. Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. Looking at the old man and the surrounding villagers, he said, I have to thank you. If it weren't for your kindness to take me in, I wouldn't know where to go. Then who are you? What do you mean by doing this now? Someone asked. My name is Gu Feng. I'm from a small place that isn't famous. I can't say more. In short, I won't do anything to hurt anyone. As for what I'm doing now, Qin Feiyong looked at Shen Dazhuang and said, Do you dare to go? Shen Dazhuang looked up at the storm again, his eyes full of fear. Dazhuang, don't be impulsive. Shen Mulan hurriedly said. What do you want to do? A middle-aged man stared at Qin Feiyong angrily. Qin Feiyong ignored him. Looking at the hesitant Shen Dazhuang, he said, Then I'll say it this way. In this storm there's a divine item that can prolong your grandfather's life. What? Shen Dazhuang's eyes suddenly trembled. Shen Mulan and the villagers also looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise. A divine item that could prolong one's life? How was that possible? Everyone knew about Shen Mulan's situation. He had already taken the prolongation pill. In this world, other than the prolongation pill, what else could prolong one's life? All these years, they had been trying to persuade Shen Dazhuang to give up. Because there was no other way to prolong one's life, unless Shen Mulan made a breakthrough. Therefore, they naturally thought that Qin Feiyong was lying to Shen Dazhuang. Use your life to exchange for your grandfather's life. Do you dare to do it? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. Shen Dazhuang looked up at the storm and slowly clenched his hands. Dazhuang, don't. Let's not talk about whether there's a treasure in this storm that can prolong one's life. Even if there is, it's not worth it. Shen Mulan hurriedly pulled Shen Dazhuang's hand and cried out. Yeah, Dazhuang, don't be fooled by him. I think he's up to no good. Get lost. We don't welcome you. Get lost immediately. Everyone cursed at Qin Feiyong. However, Qin Feiyong ignored them and only looked at Shen Dazhuang. Shen Dazhuang glanced at the villagers, then at Shen Mulan, and finally at Qin Feiyong. A look of determination flashed in his eyes as he said, As long as I can prolong my grandfather's life, I don't mind dying. After saying that, he gently pushed Shen Mulan away and resolutely rushed into the storm. Dazhuang, Shen Mulan roared. Qin Feiyong stared at Shen Dazhuang and never looked away. The moment Shen Dazhuang rushed into the sky, the fear on his face disappeared and was replaced by a smile. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyong also smiled. Shen Dazhuang indeed had a filial heart without any complaints or regrets. In this cruel world, such a person was rare. Soon, Shen Dazhuang rushed to the front of the storm and plunged into it without any hesitation. Shen Mulan was desperate. Everyone in the village also showed a trace of sadness. But at this moment, the tornado storm that was enough to destroy the world suddenly disappeared in the sky, leaving no trace. Shen Dazhuang was stunned and quickly scanned the void. What was going on? Shen Mulan and the other villagers were also stunned. Where's the treasure that can prolong one's life? Why don't I see it? Suddenly, a young voice sounded. Everyone looked at the little girl, only to see the little girl blinking her big eyes and looking at the void, her little face full of suspicion. Chapter 3970. That's right. Where's the treasure to extend his life? You lied to us. The villagers also reacted and glared at Qin Feiyong. At the same time, Shen Dazhuang's eyes were also filled with disappointment. Shen Mulan was not disappointed, because he didn't have much hope in the first place. As long as his grandson was fine, it was fine. He looked at the surrounding villagers and smiled. Fellow villagers, forget it. Don't make things difficult for Brother Gu Feng. He might be testing Dazhuang by doing this. Humph. Then he is playing with us. No, we have to chase him away. Otherwise, he will really think that we, the villagers, are easy to bully. Everyone cursed angrily. At this moment, Shen Dazhuang landed beside Shen Mulan and forced a smile on his face. He looked at everyone and said, Uncles and aunties, it's okay. At least now, I have proven my determination to save grandfather. In the future, no one will say that I am hypocritical. You child, when did we say that you are hypocritical? We watched you grow up. Do we still understand you? For your grandfather, I don't know how much you have suffered all these years. Everyone sighed, their faces full of concern. Thank you. Shen Dazhuang smiled foolishly. Who said I was lying to you? Suddenly, a faint laugh sounded. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyong again, including Shen Dazhuang. Big Brother Gufeng, what do you mean? Don't tell us that you really have a treasure to help village chief extend his life. The little girl blinked her big eyes and looked at Qin Feiyong in confusion. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and sent a sound transmission. Dan Wangkai, give me an Eternal Youth Dan. The Eternal Youth Dan was also a pill used to extend one's life. Even if one had taken the prolonging pill, taking the Eternal Youth Dan again would be effective. Moreover, the effect of the Eternal Youth Dan was even better than the prolonging pill. An Eternal Youth Dan with one Dan pattern was enough to extend one's life by 10,000 years. A divine pill could extend one's life by 100,000 years. If it was an Eternal Youth Dan with 7 or 8 dragon-shaped Dan Qi, it could extend one's life by 7 or 800,000 years. Gufeng, don't force yourself. I really don't blame you. Shen Dazhuang came back to his senses and walked to Qin Feiyong's side. I'm not trying to be brave and I really didn't lie to you. Qin Feiyong smiled. Shen Dazhuang stared blankly at Qin Feiyong. Looking at his confident expression, could it be that this person really had a treasure that could prolong his life? In his heart he could not help but feel excited. Shen Mulin and the villagers looked at Qin Feiyong, and they were very surprised. Very soon, Dan Wangkai had already prepared an Eternal Youth pill. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and the Eternal Youth pill appeared. A majestic life force instantly enveloped the entire area. There were a total of 8 dragon-shaped pill qi, all of them emitting a dazzling divine light. So much dragon-shaped elixir qi? Everyone was dumbfounded. Although divine pills weren't rare in the Sky Cloud realm, even the people of this village would more or less have some divine pills on them. However, this was the first time they had seen a divine pill with 8 dragon-shaped elixir qi in their lives. What was even more unbelievable was that they had never seen the pill that Qin Feiyong took out. This is the Eternal Youth pill. Its effect is better than the life-prolonging pill. 8 dragon-shaped elixir qi can prolong your life for 800,000 years. Qin Feiyong handed the pill to Shen Dazhuang. 800,000 years for the current Qin Feiyong was just a blink of an eye. Because in the Black Tortoise realm, any seclusion would last more than 1,000,000 years. However, for someone like Shen Mulin who was only a combat emperor, 800,000 years was an extremely long period of time. What? It can prolong your life by 800,000 years. Are you kidding me? Eternal Youth pill. How come I've never heard of it? The surrounding villagers were shocked and puzzled. For them, this kind of thing was completely a fantasy. Because they were not strong enough, they had never come into contact with this kind of thing. Moreover, the Eternal Youth pill could not be found outside, because it was only recorded in the pill scripture. In other words, only Qin Feiyong and the others could refine it. Is it really useful? But Shen Dazhuang did not take the Eternal Youth pill. He looked at Qin Feiyong. At this moment, his mood was the same as everyone else's. He was nervous, but also had a trace of anticipation. It's really useful. Qin Feiyong nodded and smiled. Shen Dazhuang looked at Qin Feiyong's eyes, then suddenly grabbed the pill and looked at Shen Mulin. You should think about it again. Even if this Eternal Youth pill is useful, there might be some side effects. A few older villagers hurriedly said, there are no side effects at all. Old man, if you believe me, then take it. If you don't believe me, then pretend that I never gave it to you. Qin Feiyong looked at Shen Mulin and smiled faintly. Shen Mulin glanced at Qin Feiyong, then at the surrounding villagers. Finally, he looked at the Eternal Youth elixir. He suddenly laughed and said in a hoarse voice, our Shen family village is just a small remote village. This old man is just a person with one foot in the grave. There's nothing good about him. At this point, he looked at the surrounding villagers and smiled. This old man really can't find a reason for Lord Gufeng to harm this old man. No matter what, we can't measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. Finished. He grabbed the pill from Shen Dazhuang's hand and put it into his mouth. Everyone wanted to stop him, but it was too late. They could only pay close attention to Shen Mulin's changes. Especially Shen Dazhuang. His heart was almost in his throat. Everyone's eyes were now on Shen Mulin. No one noticed that Qin Feiyong had quietly left. As time passed, boom! Suddenly, a majestic vitality surged out from Shen Mulin's body. His old body began to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than 100 breaths, Shen Mulin's appearance changed greatly. The originally thin and weak body became strong and muscular. His face was full of wrinkles, but it was also full of vitality and rosy. However, in such a short time, Shen Mulin changed from an old man with one foot in the grave to a middle-aged man full of energy and vigor. Those who didn't know would think that he was Shen Dazhuang's father. The whole village, including the group of children, were dumbfounded. Was he trying to change a living person? This was too magical. Looking at the changes in his body, Shen Mulin himself was also in disbelief. Ever since he entered his old age, he had never felt so full of energy. It was as if he had returned to his youth. All the organs in his body, every cell in his flesh and blood were awakening. "Grandpa, how is it?" Shen Dazhuang asked with concern. "Very good." Shen Mulin nodded. Even his voice was no longer hoarse and full of energy. "Is it really possible? This is simply a miracle." "Brother Gufeng, thank you." The surrounding villagers were also very surprised. However, when they looked at Qin Feiyang, they found that Qin Feiyang had already disappeared. "Where is he?" Shen Dazhuang was stunned and immediately scanned the surroundings. There was no trace of Qin Feiyang in the mountains. Could it be that he was angry because of our previous offense? "Dazhuang, go and find him. This is a good person. We can't let a good person be bitterly disappointed," Shen Mulin hurriedly urged. "Okay." Shen Dazhuang nodded and immediately ran to the mountains outside the village. "Let's help to find him." "It's all my fault for talking too much. What nonsense did I say just now? I wronged a good person." The other villagers immediately scattered and flew in all directions. "I knew it. Brother Gufeng is not a bad person." The little girl frowned and looked at everyone with dissatisfaction. When the group of adults heard this, they couldn't help but laugh embarrassedly. They had lived for most of their lives, but their taste was not as good as a little girl's. Outside the village, in the mountain forest, Qin Feiyang stood beside a big tree and lowered his head in silence. Suddenly, he waved his hand and a group of people appeared in front of him. There were more than a dozen people. The leader was Pei Tianhong, Mu Qing, Mu Tianyang, Dong Zhengyang, Demon Ancestor, as well as Wang Chongyuan and the other 10 Great Dark Guard commanders. "Young Master." Pei Tianhong, Wang Chongyuan and the other 10 Great Dark Guard commanders immediately bowed to Qin Feiyang. Although Qin Feiyang had changed his appearance to be able to directly take them out of the Black Tortoise realm, only Qin Feiyang could do it. So the unfamiliar face in front of them must be Qin Feiyang. Demon Ancestor and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Why did he suddenly call them out when they were cultivating? Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "Have you heard about the friendly match between the Divine Kingdom and the Skycloud realm?" "I heard about it from the castle." Pei Tianhong nodded. "Then are you interested?" Qin Feiyang smiled. Pei Tianhong, Wang Chongyuan and the other 10 great commanders looked at each other and were indeed a little tempted. Qin Feiyang asked, "These years you have been cultivating in the Black Tortoise realm. I believe your strength should have grown a lot." "Of course." Wang Chongyuan nodded. Not only did they open the door of potential, but there was also the time law of 5,000 years a day. Also the frenzied white-eyed wolf, fire dance Yun Xiang, Mas de Jura, and even Blood Ancestor and Feather Emperor had stayed in the Black Tortoise realm. People like Pei Tianhong were not idiots and would definitely take the opportunity to ask for advice from everyone. And everyone had already fused with the law of miniature. So, the resources they had could never be compared to others, and the speed of their growth was naturally different. Especially Demon Ancestor and the others. Their talent was not good to begin with. And compared to Pei Tianhong and the others, they had opened the door of potential earlier. Before entering the Skybell Divine Treasure, it was said that their strength was already very impressive, let alone now. It had been more than 100 years since they entered the Skybell Divine Treasure. 100 years in the outside world was 5,000 years in the Black Tortoise realm, which was almost 200 million years. This was a terrifying number. So it was not difficult to guess that their strength was not simple. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "If you are interested, you can go and give it a try. You can help senior brother and the others share some of the pressure, and you can also understand the strength of Scandinavia." Of course, it would be best if you can obtain one or two ultimate profundities inheritances. The inheritance of the ultimate profundity of an ultimate law, Pei Tianhong, Wang Chongyuan, and the other 10 great commanders' eyes lit up when they heard this. If you can really obtain it, you don't have to give it to me. You can fuse with it yourself. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Really? One of the commanders asked. Would I lie to you about this? Besides, this is something you worked hard to obtain. Why would I snatch it from you? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. After being together for so long, how could they not understand him? Chapter 3971. This, young master, don't mind me. I'm just reacting instinctively. I know that you're not someone like Feng Ho. The commander knew that he had said something wrong. He quickly smiled apologetically. It's all right. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Suddenly Dong Zhongyang said, actually, I'm a little worried. Worried? Everyone was stunned. They looked at Dong Zhongyang in confusion and asked, what are you worried about? I won't hide it from you. After learning about this, I used my eye of destiny to look into the future. However, the future seems to be shrouded in a layer of fog. I can't see it clearly. Dong Zhongyang shook his head. You dare to activate your eye of destiny? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Yes. Didn't Ice Dragon and Small Beast look for you previously? When I heard about this, I pondered for a while. I felt that even if I activated my eye of destiny now, they wouldn't interfere. Therefore, I tried to activate my eye of destiny. In the end, they didn't interfere. Dong Zhongyang said. If that's the case, doesn't that mean that you can activate your eye of destiny as you wish? The demon ancestor asked. You can't say that I can. After all, what's Small Beast thinking? None of us know. Dong Zhongyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Indeed. We still have to be careful when facing Small Beast. Qin Feiyang nodded. He lowered his voice and said, however, your eye of destiny isn't very useful against sovereigns, right? Yes. I need to find the other half of my eye of destiny. Dong Zhongyang nodded. After that, he looked at Qin Feiyang and the demon ancestor. He sighed and said, I'm really envious of you. You found the other half of your fighting soul so quickly. There's no hurry. Two people with the same fighting soul are destined to be enemies. They will meet sooner or later. For example, hasn't the other half of my wife's eye of life already appeared? Qin Feiyang smiled. Then why don't you look for Jiang Yunshuang? The fiend ancestor frowned. There's no rush. Right now, Jiang Yunshuang is in the open while we're in the dark. Once I comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life, I'll give Jiang Yunshuang a pleasant surprise. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. How's the progress of your ultimate intent? Mu Tianyang is suspicious. It's not far now. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked curiously, what about you guys? How strong are you now? Can you tell me? These people had never spoken a word about their own strength. Who knew what they were guarding against? Our strength is definitely inferior to yours. Mu Qing shook her head. Although they had been cultivating in the Black Tortoise world for a longer time than Qin Feiyang had obtained a lot of good fortune when he was in the Skybell Divine Treasury. The laws of light's ultimate profundity legacy, the laws of karma's ultimate profundity legacy, as well as the laws of life and death, these creations would instantly surpass the fiend ancestor and company. Therefore, there was a direct ratio between the effort and the reward. For example, although there was no danger in cultivating in the Black Tortoise world, they could only do it step by step. On the other hand, while adventuring in the outside world was fraught with danger, if one was lucky enough to obtain a fortuitous encounter, one could instantly double one's strength. Young master, don't be fooled by them. I heard that some time ago, they went to the western region's Blood Sea to undergo tribulation with the help of various sovereign divine weapons. Pei Tianhong glanced at the demon ancestor and transmitted his voice secretly. Tribulation. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. There was only one explanation for a peak sovereign undergoing tribulation. They had comprehended the ultimate intent. If that was the case, it meant that they had comprehended the ultimate intent of an ordinary law. Why were they so sure that it was the ultimate intent of an ordinary law? Because if it was a heavenly tribulation of an ultimate intent of an ultimate law, Little Wimp would never allow them to undergo it in the Black Tortoise world. A heavenly tribulation of an ultimate law was as strong as a sovereign divine weapon's heavenly tribulation. Even if the Black Tortoise world could withstand it, innocent lives would be harmed. Little Wimp would never allow such a thing to happen. They are indeed powerful. Qin Feiyong sighed inwardly. Although he was stronger than the demon ancestor and the others from another point of view, he wasn't as strong as the demon ancestor and the others. It wasn't just him. The frenzy white-eyed wolf, Yun Xiang fire dance, and the Master Jura were all inferior to them. Because until now, they hadn't comprehended an ultimate intent with their own strength. The ultimate intents that they grasped were all inherited. Qin Feiyong sighed and looked at Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, and Dong Zhengyang. No matter how strong you are, you should participate in the friendly competition. Must we go? Dong Zhengyang asked. Yes. This friendly competition has alarmed the entire Sky Cloud world, including the Divine Kingdom. I think that the other half of your battle souls might also appear. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. Hearing this, Dong Zhengyang, Mu Qing, and Mu Tianyang's eyes also flashed. As for the demon ancestor, Qin Feiyong then looked at the demon ancestor and said with a smile, all the more reason for you to participate, because with your eyes of despair and 3,000 incarnations, you can definitely take first place and obtain the inheritance of the ultimate profound meaning of the strongest law. The people of the Divine Kingdom had always thought that other than him, the Frenzy Longchan siblings White-Eyed Wolf and Yun Xiang, there were no other young people who could compete. But that wasn't the case. For example, if the demon ancestor really comprehended an ultimate intent, with his 3,000 incarnations and eyes of despair, he would definitely be able to defeat the younger generation of the Divine Kingdom in the friendly competition. Because his eyes of despair was now complete. When the demon ancestor made a move, it would definitely be a surprise for the Divine Kingdom. Think so too. The demon ancestor nodded and smiled. All right then. Good luck to you. By the way, don't tell senior brother and the others about my current whereabouts. I don't want anyone to disturb me during this period. Qin Feiyong smiled. Okay. Everyone nodded. After the group left, Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and called out Yi Tian Fire Dragon, Zhao Xiaojin and Zhua Xiaocheng. Along with them, a black dragon and a fire luan appeared. Yi Tian looked around and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. You are brother Qin? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. Qin Dage, why did you suddenly call us out of the Black Tortoise realm? Zhao Xiaojin was puzzled. Right now, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance also has a one-day, 5,000 years time array, and all of you have already unlocked the door of potential and fused with the laws of nature. I think it's time for all of you to return to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and contribute to protecting the Western continent. Qin Feiyong smiled. So you want to chase us away? The fire dragon snorted coldly. Can you not make it sound so bad? I helped you open the door of potential and gave you the ultimate intent. What's the point of staying in the Black Tortoise realm? Qin Feiyong was helpless. How interesting. His parents were in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. If he didn't go to his parents' side and show his filial piety, would he stay in the Black Tortoise realm all day? Then do we have to go to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance too? The Black Dragon and Fire Luan frowned. The Black Dragon's past was a giant python. Back then in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, it was Qin Feiyong who helped him pass the tribulation. Qin Feiyong smiled. Big brother Black Dragon, you know how important the Rogue Cultivator Alliance is to me. So I hope Big brother Black Dragon can help me take care of it. Since you have said so. The Black Dragon pouted and nodded. All right. I can't. I haven't transformed into a phoenix yet. The Fire Luan hurriedly said. The reason it followed Qin Feiyong was to evolve into a phoenix like the Black Dragon. This matter is easy to handle now. When the time comes, you can go to the Feng people and ask them for some phoenix blood. As for whether you can successfully evolve in the end, it will depend on your luck. Qin Feiyong smiled. In your name. The Fire Luan's eyes lit up as it asked. Although the Feng people were in dire straits, there was a saying that a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Its face was definitely not enough. Qin Feiyong nodded. Then that's fine. The Fire Luan chuckled. Qin Feiyong looked at Zhua Xiaocheng and smiled. You have been in the Black Tortoise realm for so many years and have also cultivated in seclusion in Sky Cloud Island for many years. When you go back, remember to be filial to your father and cultivate hard. And Shuo Xiaoqing nodded. His eyes were a little wet. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. We are suddenly separated. I am a little reluctant. Qin Chen Long Tianyu Wang Xiaojia. Shuo Xiaoqing lowered his head and said. During these years in the Black Tortoise realm, he had the best relationship with the three of them. They were like close brothers. It's not like we are parting forever. Qin Feiyang was speechless. He looked at Yi Tian and said, Brother Yi, I will leave the Rogue Cultivator Alliance to you. Don't worry. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance is not only important to you, it is even more important to me. Because the Rogue Cultivator Alliance is my home. Yi Tian smiled faintly. All right. Until we meet again. Qin Feiyang bowed and said with a smile. Yi Tian nodded. With a wave of his hand, a space-time tunnel appeared. He looked at the fire dragon, Zhao Xiaojin the black dragon, and the fire Luan and said, Let's go. Qin Dage, come visit us when you are free. Zhao Xiaojin looked at Qin Feiyang reluctantly. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. His eyes turned slightly as he asked through voice transmission. When do you plan to confess to Yi Tian? Zhao Xiaojin's cheeks immediately turned red. Shuo Xiaoqing also looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Qin Dage, you have to take good care of my sister. Qin Feiyang was startled. Shouldn't you be saying this to your brother-in-law? It's just that I can't find him now. Shuo Xiaoqing chuckled. Got it. Go. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed as he waved his hand. After the few of them left, Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at the sky. A trace of a smile appeared on his face. Everything had been arranged. It was time to get into the mood. Gufeng. Suddenly, Shen Dazhuang's voice sounded. Qin Feiyang was startled. He turned around and saw Shen Dazhuang running over while panting. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Why did you leave without saying a word? Are you angry with us? If that's the case, I apologize to you. Gufeng hurriedly said. Angry? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, saying, I'm not such a petty person, I just came out to relax. Relax. Gufeng was slightly startled. He immediately heaved a sigh of relief and laughed foolishly. As long as you don't leave, I'll accompany you to walk around? Sure. Qin Feiyang nodded. At that moment, the two of them, one in front and one behind, strolled leisurely in the mountains. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.